Chapter 4:16. Mo Xiaoxin was dumbfounded as he looked at the demonic Buddha that was slowly taking shape. This is fake, right? I don't believe it. In disbelief, Mo Xiaoxin began to struggle, but in this state, he was unable to move at all. He was firmly locked in place and unable to move. In the distance, Qiuqiu was looking at him indifferently. The golden demonic monk behind him was constantly becoming more and more corporeal, scattering golden light in all directions. It made Qiuqiu look extremely solemn and dignified, as if a Buddhist aura that could save all life had appeared around him. At this moment, Qiuqiu suddenly moved. He slowly raised his hand and mimicked the assassin player in the demo, slowly stabbing his own chest. Although he did not have any weapons in his hands, the golden light fiend monk suddenly opened his eyes. A beam of golden light swept toward Mo Xiaoxin at the same time the ball struck him. As the golden light flashed, Mo Xiaoxin felt a pain in his chest, and a game notification rang in his mind. Game notification: you have been cursed by the beginner level of Prajna Devil Buddha. You have received a fixed damage of 1000 points, and 85% damage has been transferred to 2 points. This attack took away nearly half of Mo Xiaoxin's HP, giving him a fright. Seeing Qiuqiu raise his hand to his neck again, Mo Xiaoxin hurriedly said, "Qiuqiu, stop, stop. I surrender." Mo Xiaoxin's scream caused Qiuqiu, who was in the prajna state, to tremble. Then, a hint of doubt appeared in his indifferent eyes, and the devil monk behind him also collapsed with a loud bang. The feeling of restraint on Mo Xiaoxin's body suddenly disappeared. Staring at Qiuqiu, Mo Xiaoxin's face was still filled with fear. How the f***ck is this possible? How is this possible? Uncle, I did it! Qiuqiu shouted happily at Mo Xiaoxin. How did you do it? Mo Xiaoxin stuttered. I don't know either. I just followed Uncle's instructions and controlled my emotions. Then, I stared at you with cold eyes. Listening to Qiuqiu's explanation, Mo Xiaoxin felt like vomiting blood. Qiuqiu, who couldn't even learn the prajna scarification in the first place, was actually taught by him blindly. This is fake, right? I don't believe it. At this moment, Mo Xiaoxin fell into a state of self-doubt. I taught myself a future number 1 assassin? I taught him myself? I taught you? At this moment, Mo Xiaoxin only wanted to stab himself twice. Why did he have to be so full of himself? Didn't he know that the young couple was a super talented assassin player? How could their child be weak? I hate it, I regret it so much. Could he turn back time? Oh my God! Mo Xiaoxin almost burst into tears. He felt that this was too f***king fake. Reality was too cruel. He simply couldn't accept this kind of truth. Looking at the excited Qiuqiu again, Mo Xiaoxin said with a trembling voice, "Qiuqiu, you might not believe me, but you really practiced wrong this time. Why don't you forget what happened before and let's practice again?" Mo Xiaoxin held back his sadness. He wanted to try and bluff Qiuqiu into turning over a new leaf and practicing again. Qiuqiu immediately shook his head. It can't be wrong. Just now, a prompt rang out in my mind, saying that I have comprehended the true essence of Prajna Basic. So, I have really learned it. Mo Xiaoxin felt bitter when he heard that, but he forced a smile and spoke again. Then I'll congratulate you in advance. I still have something to do, so I'll leave first. Continue practicing. With that said, Mo Xiaoxin quickly turned around and walked quickly to his specter ship. At this moment, he just wanted to find a quiet place and cry to his heart's content. However, he had only taken a few steps when he suddenly found that his body was once again bound in place, and the game prompt rang again. A game prompt: you have been locked by the skill Prajna scarification, performed by Qiuqiu and are unable to move. The Prajna Demon Buddha is recovering, please take note. Qiuqiu, what are you doing? Mo Xiaoxin hurriedly shouted. Uncle, you're Crayon Shinchan, right? At this moment, Chiuchiu's voice came from behind, scaring Crayon Shinchan out of his wits. Nonsense. How could Uncle be that B************* bar spirit? Mo Xiaoxin immediately retorted. Uncle, Mom and Dad often mention Crayon Shinchan. They said that this is the person they want to kill the most, and they often give many examples when chatting. One of them is mentioned, and his name is Mo Xiaoxin. By the way, I just received a prompt. The target of my prajna scarification is Mo Xiaoxin. That is, Uncle. Chiuchiu's sweet voice came from behind, but to Mo Xiaoxin, it sounded like a demon's whisper. It was too scary. Sweat rolled down his forehead, and at this moment, Mo Xiaoxin really panicked. If his identity was revealed to Murphy and little Pomelo by Chiuchiu, he would not be able to mingle in the battle circle anymore. He would probably be woken up by a backstab from the sky even in his dreams. Chiuchiu, don't scare Uncle. Uncle is very timid. Mo Xiaoxin was about to cry at this moment. The future was about to be dark, and the only light in that dark world might be backstabbing. Uncle, Mom and Dad taught me that a man must keep his promise. Chiuchiu promised Uncle that I would never tell Mom and Dad about your identity, so Chiuchiu will definitely keep it, Chiuchiu said again. Hearing this, Mo Xiaoxin's body trembled. Good boy, good boy. Chiuchiu, you are really a good boy who keeps his promise. At this moment, Mo Xiaoxin was so touched that tears welled up in his eyes. The feeling of going from hell to heaven was too exciting, and he felt that his heart was almost unable to bear it. But he knew that he was alive again. As long as Chiuchiu's parents, namely Murphy and little Pomelo, did not know his identity, he could still continue to live happily in the battle. However, at this moment, Chiuchiu suddenly spoke again. But Uncle, you are the mage that Mom and Dad want to kill the most, and Mom and Dad are the people that Chiuchiu loves the most. Although Chiuchiu promised Uncle that it would not tell Mom and Dad that you are Crayon Shinchan, Chiuchiu has decided that I will be the one to kill Uncle in the future, to fulfill Mom and Dad's wish. Mo Xiaoxin. His smile froze at this moment. Heaven had once again fallen to hell, and his future was once again shrouded in a dark fog. This child is really like Murphy and little Pomelo. He is really too cruel, too suitable to be an assassin, but why does my heart hurt so much? Uncle, that Chiuchiu is making his move. The sweet voice was heard again, and then Mo Xiaoxin felt a pain in his chest, and his HP instantly dropped. Hey Chiuchiu, stop, I am a good person. No, Mom and Dad have always said that the person who cheated me away that day was a big bad guy, but Chiuchiu promised Uncle that I would not say anything about Uncle. I even got beaten up a few times because of this, and now my butt is swollen. Chiuchiu, let's talk this out. You are still young, you can't do this. Uncle, I am an assassin, and so are my parents. That is what assassins are like. Uncle, you have to get used to it, there will be more of them in the future. Chiuchiu is already prepared to kill Uncle until… according to Mom and Dad, it is called killing until you have a mental breakdown. As soon as Chiuchiu's voice fell, he raised his hand and punched his chest again. Immediately, the golden demonic Buddha behind him opened its eyes and started chanting in a low voice. Golden runes formed a Buddha seal that swept across Mo Xiaoxin's body. At this moment, a game notification rang out. You have been killed by Chiuchiu with prajna scarification, fixed damage. Mo Xiaoxin's vision gradually darkened, and all he could feel was his heart aching, so much so that he was about to die. I have courted death by nurturing a future super assassin. I have even courted death by exposing myself. Most importantly, this little fellow's goal is to kill me until I have a mental breakdown. Are these the thoughts a child should have? Can't he be as innocent and naive as a child? Is it really okay to be so cruel? The scene was swallowed by darkness at this moment, just like Mo Xiaoxin's current mood, which was slowly being swallowed by the cruel reality. What Mo Xiaoxin did not know was, if not for his step-by-step guidance, even if Chiuchiu had the super assassin talent, he would not be able to learn prajna scarification, especially the collection of courting death that he had taught. This collection of courting death was the result of many expert players' repeated research on prajna scarification. Although there was no way to verify it, these expert players had repeatedly watched the video and deliberated over it. The biggest reason why many players could not rely on this collection of courting death to learn prajna scarification was that they only wanted to die to explore the mystery of prajna scarification, and they were only trying to put it into practice. However, Chiyo was different. He firmly believed that this collection of courting death would allow him to learn prajna scarification, and he kept on courting death for it. One of the most important steps was the protection of Murphy and little Pomelo. Every time Chiyo acted with the mentality that he was going to die, they would always stop him at the crucial moment. With the mentality that he was going to die, yet he was still alive. With the will to die, he would put it into action, but his body would not die. This was one of the true meanings of prajna scarification. With each attempt, due to the protection of his parents, Chiyo became more and more eager to die so that he could experience the feeling of death. Chiyo's pursuit of death was very pure, but he did not have the slightest fear. From that moment on, Chiyo had actually understood prajna scarification. However, although Chiyo had understood it, the specific implementation was another hurdle. At this time, Mo Xiaoxin appeared and told Chiyo to focus, calm down, and enter a state of indifference, etc. This step was Mo Xiaoxin's final guidance. It was also this step that allowed Chiyo to become one with his body and completely understand how to control and release prajna scarification. In other words, without Mo Xiaoxin's guidance, Chiyo would not have learned prajna scarification. It was such a coincidence. At this moment, Chiyo was sitting cross-legged on the ground. The golden devil Buddha behind him had not faded and was still solidifying. Golden light flickered, and countless Buddhist characters danced around Chiyo. In this state, Chiyo's understanding of prajna scarification deepened. Finally, the moment the golden devil Buddha completely solidified, a server announcement rang. Server announcement. Player Little Pomelo's child, Chiyo, has comprehended the active, passive skill Naraka Realm, Ultimate Path 3, Prajna Scarification, Basic. At this moment, the server exploded. It had been more than a year. The ultimate skill that all assassin players had been looking forward to, but no one had been able to comprehend, had finally been comprehended. In order to comprehend this skill, countless assassin players had sacrificed their lives. They had sacrificed too much. However, they still could not grasp the true meaning of prajna scarification. Therefore, for this skill, all assassin players had once made a pact. Whoever could be the first to comprehend the true meaning of prajna scarification would be recognized as the king of assassins. Chapter 4:17. Alright, Chiyo, you can start now. There are so many brothers and sisters watching, so you have to be more detailed, little Pomelo said to Chiyo with a smile. Chiyo, 6 years old. Although Chiyo's explanation was a little vague, the players did not expect too much from a child. Little backstab expert. If anyone dares to say that assassins are the weakest sewer profession, I'll use prajna scarification to let them know what a head-on assassination is, laughing emoji. More than 10 minutes had passed. Character details. Reward for the first place in the June 1st event. Has complete self-awareness and extremely high growth potential. Dad, Mom, you're back. Skill details. Naraka Realm, the power of the ultimate path. Summons the Prajna Devil Buddha to bless the user. Any damage dealt to the user will be transferred to the target through the Devil Buddha and cause additional fixed damage. I was busy just now. Assassin players who want to learn Prajna scarification, please join the live stream. I won't reply to you one by one. Remember to tip me, I have to save money to buy a house for Chiyo. Original poster. My wife is the most beautiful in the world. At this moment, they suddenly recalled the time when Chiyo Chiyo ran away from home. When little Pomelo saw that, she reached out and took out the object that was buried in the sand. Skill description: Mark of the ultimate path, symbol of Naraka Realm's ultimate path. A dagger? Little Pomelo was stunned when she saw the shiny white dagger in her hand. Then, she stared at Chiyo Chiyo. The nonsense that Emo Xiaoxin spouted back then had become the holy scripture for the players to study prajna scarification. At this moment, they finally understood why Chiyo Chiyo had been courting death recently. It turned out that he was secretly practicing the courting death collection. Not only the assassin players, but many players of other professions also swarmed into the live stream. They wanted to see how powerful the legendary most difficult skill for an assassin was. In the afternoon, after signing for a batch of nutrient solution for the gaming chamber, Murphy and little Pomelo logged into Battle Online again. At this moment, they were listening to the live stream attentively. There was not even a single bullet screen in the live stream. Skill cultivation progress. Prajna scarification, beginner. After knowing that someone had learned prajna scarification, many assassin players fell into a state of torment. They were waiting for someone to announce the information of prajna scarification on the forum. Upon seeing the appearance of this livestream, all the assassin players immediately clicked into the livestream without any hesitation. Looking at Chiyo Chiyo, little Pomelo sighed and gave up on pursuing the matter. Then, Chiyo Chiyo, tell mommy how you learned the prajna scarification. Chiyo Chiyo, was it the bad guy who abducted you who told you the cultivation method? Little Pomelo asked with a serious expression. Passive effect. Primary prajna demon Buddha's protection, HP reduced by 1%, all attributes increased by 1%, 10% damage reduction when HP is less than 50%. Yi Shuer. F***CK, Pomelo, you guys are too amazing. How did you do it? Come up with a tutorial, I want to learn too. As the players had done some research on the Hell Realm, they all knew that the power of the Hell Realm was not exclusive to the Cursed Apostle, but a cultivation system in the underworld. When he felt that there were enough people, Murphy turned his attention to Ball. He then opened Ball's analysis interface and showed the information about prajna scarification to the players in the live streaming channel. Big brother and big sister, have you learned it? Thinking about the 999 plus messages just now, Murphy and little Pomelo finally understood why their friends kept sending them messages like crazy. Just as they had guessed, prajna scarification's ability was extremely powerful. All the assassin players were envious of it, and they could not wait to master this powerful one-on-one ability. Mommy, just hit me, I won't tell you, Chiyo Chiyo said pitifully. Thinking about how Chiyo Chiyo had hidden a weapon from them, little Pomelo was furious. She then looked at Murphy, and both of them attacked at the same time. Mommy, you're not angry anymore? Chiyo Chiyo asked carefully. When they saw the specific information about prajna scarification, the live streaming channel was filled with exclamations. Then, they walked towards Chiyo Chiyo and stood beside him. When they saw the eye-catching labels on it, both her and Murphy's eyes widened. At this time, Murphy opened the live streaming button and entered a title. Wait a minute, let Daddy start a live streaming channel. Many friends want to know now, Chiyo Chiyo, you're famous now. Chiyo Chiyo, tell mommy, how did you learn prajna scarification? Little Pomelo rubbed Chiyo Chiyo's little head, feeling proud and curious at the same time. Character status. Healthy. This was already known to the players from the Naraka server's forum. The players in the Naraka server had already encountered more than 6 races that had mastered the Naraka realm's power. It was as if something earth-shattering had happened in the few hours they were offline, and both of them could not help but be dumbfounded. Upon hearing this, Chiyo Chiyo said with a wronged expression, "Come and go without a trace. It seems like the spring of us assassins is here. Everyone, get ready to go wild, it's time to suppress the other classes," laughing emoji. At this moment, Murphy and little Pomelo were in disbelief. Thinking of his promise to Mo Xiaoxin, Chiu fell into silence with a bitter face. Little Pomelo. Chiu, did anything happen when Daddy and Mommy were not around? Isn't this the compilation of unreliable suicides on the forum? Prajna scarification? The king of assassins? Crying with snot and tears, he looked extremely miserable. Looking at Chiu in such a state, little Pomelo sighed and subconsciously opened Chiu's information panel to check on his health status out of habit. Don't be angry anymore. Tell me how you learned it, little Pomelo continued to ask. Although Little Ball also had the ability to log into the forum due to its unique body, Murphy and Little Pomelo did not open or register an account for Little Ball in the forum. They were afraid that the idiotic netizens would lead Little Ball astray. Little Pomelo squatted down and rubbed Chiu's head. Compared to the cursed apostle who only specialized in the Naraka realm, other professions also had the possibility to master the power of the Naraka realm. Seeing someone approaching, Chiu immediately raised its head and cried out in surprise. Chiu, you're being naughty again. Why did you mention the assassin? Are you itching for a beating? Little Pomelo chided. Guyu, congratulations from the Myth Guild. Hearing this, Chiu revealed a proud expression. Daddy, Mommy, from today onwards, Chiu is the most powerful assassin. In the beginning, they thought that Chiu had some fortuitous encounter, but when they heard Chiu talk about the cultivation method, they suddenly felt that it was more and more familiar. Yi swear, Prajna scarification. Begging on my knees for teaching videos. Thanking me, kowtowing. Little Pomelo nodded and rubbed Chiu's head. Therefore, Chiu, who did not have an account, should not have any way to know about this compilation. Character profession. None. Initial choices are berserker, assassin, or sorcerer. You can also learn other professions in the game. Naraka Realm 3. Prajna scarification. Lu Chai, Murphy, hurry up and come up with a tutorial. The assassin players in my guild are going crazy with anxiety. Binder. Little Pomelo, they could not imagine what had happened to Chiu during the few hours that he had been away. How did he do it? Character goal. To become an excellent assassin like Mommy and Daddy. Murphy and Little Pomelo were very familiar with this series of death-seeking compilation. Every time they thought about it, they felt that it was a painful past. Chi Ming, congratulations. Recently, I've been studying the cultivation system of the Naraka realm. I'll visit you some other day. Looking at the dense messages, Murphy and Little Pomelo looked at each other. Then, they tacitly shifted their gaze to Chiu, who was playing with sand not far away. Cold light flashed. I've recorded down every word that teacher Chiu said. I'll study it later. Even thinking about it now, they still felt that they had been cheated by the heartless players in the forum. This cultivation method was definitely unreliable. However, the moment they went online, they were dumbfounded. Looking at Chiu, who was playing with sand, Murphy and Little Pomelo were confused. They could not understand why these words were associated with Chiu. Crayon_Shinchan. It seems like a heartache. The friends list automatically popped up. Countless avatars jumped, and 999 plus messages appeared in an instant. Character ability. Naraka Realm, Prajna scarification, nunsurely _ the strongest. What a cute king of assassins. I really want to hug him. Seeing that his mother did not ask any more questions, Chiu suddenly smiled. Okay. The number of people in the live streaming room increased rapidly. Chiu immediately moved his feet away with a bitter face. When Chiu uses Prajna scarification, he will pay attention to a few important points. His eyes must be cold and emotionless, and he must put his whole body into it instead. He began to interpret the help and meaning of this sentence in cultivation word by word. Murphy and Little Pomelo were stunned as they listened to Chiu's description. They subconsciously clicked on the message list, and a large number of dialogue boxes suddenly appeared. The players in the live streaming room were astonished. While Chiu was repeating Mo Xiaoxin's words, the assassin players and other professional players in the live streaming room were listening attentively. Some even took out their notebooks and began to take note. This was because they had really studied it seriously back then, and had experienced a long period of waiting for their resurrection. Murphy, Chiu. The learning atmosphere in the live streaming room gradually became more intense. Seeing the bullet screen and the rewards from the players in the live streaming room, Murphy smiled very happily. With these rewards, the pressure of buying a house in Beike was reduced. Therefore, when they found out that Chiu had actually succeeded in cultivating using this method, they were a little incredulous. Chiu nodded his head vigorously and began his explanation. Mom, weren't you wondering why Chiu changed so much before? Let me tell you a secret. Actually, Chiu was already cultivating prajna scarification at that time. Their king of assassins began to wail loudly as he was brutally beaten by the mixed doubles. Wang Damong, please enlighten me, Prajna. Let me tell you another piece of good news. According to the agreement in the forum, your Chiu is now the king of assassins. How is this possible? Mom, Chiu didn't hide anything. Chiu answered nervously. Wait, let me turn on a live stream and reply to them. Murphy immediately said when he saw that Chiu was about to start his explanation. However, at this moment they had a new doubt. How did Chiu know about this courting death collection? While the players were in a heated discussion, little Pomelo suddenly frowned as she realized that Chiu seemed to be stepping on something. Chiu, what's that under your feet? Chiu, where did you get that dagger from? You're still so young, how can you play with weapons? After Chiu finished explaining his final understanding of prajna scarification, he suddenly blinked his eyes. Assassin's Creed. Master Chiu, I've learned it. The most important thing is to have a cold gaze. Laughing emoji. Mom, Chiu won't say. Laughing emoji. Therefore, Chiu's explanation was equally attractive to players who were not assassins. They all thought that it was an opportunity to understand the power system of the Naraka realm. When Chiu heard it, he quickly covered his buttocks with both hands as a look of fear appeared on his face. In an instant, the screen was filled with comments again. Then move your feet away. My son has learned prajna scarification? Chiu seemed to have noticed that his mother was staring at his feet. At this moment, he suddenly became extremely nervous. Character. Stubborn, optimistic in an instant, many assassin players began to tip soul coins, urging Murphy to quickly get to the main topic and start explaining how to learn prajna scarification. Chapter 4:18. After Chiu's live teaching, the Beike assassin players once again set off a wave of suicidal craze. Because the teaching this time was based on successful cultivation cases, many players believed it without a doubt. Many jokes even appeared because of this. I'm an assassin player, I have no feelings. I'm an assassin player, my eyes are cold. All the assassin players had an illusion during this period of time. The other professions were doomed, and the assassin profession was going to rise. They were immersed in the beautiful fantasy, looking forward to learning the prajna sacrificial skill and beating the other professional players hard, letting them know the wrath of a lowly player. Lu Wu did not know whether to laugh or cry about this, because he knew very well that Chiu's success was difficult to replicate. However, this was not absolute, because when the assassin players were suicidal, their mentality was also extremely firm, just like Chiu's. This was because compared to the previous suicidal collection, many assassin players at that time had the mentality of giving it a try and did not fully believe in it. However, it was different this time. They had absolute faith in Chiu's teaching because Chiu had already succeeded. A change in mentality could perhaps bring about miracles. Lu Wu could only hope for this, but he did not insist on anything. This mentality of becoming stronger was what Lu Wu was happy to see. After all, the stronger the players were, the stronger he would be. They would always complement each other. Recently, the development of the game had returned to the right track, but something in reality caught Lu Wu's attention. It was because Battle Online's non-server had been activated. However, the activation of the non-server this time had nothing to do with Lu Wu. The news that he received was that Battle Online's non-server had been activated. When he first received the news, Lu Wu was completely dumbfounded. At that time, Wu Gui called him and complained over the phone, asking why the non-server was activated without informing him. At that time, Lu Wu was confused and immediately told Wu Gui that he did not activate the non-server server. Then, Lu Wu and Wu Gui fell into a state of confusion. Although Lu Wu had considered setting up a non-server server, it was impossible for him to activate it at this stage due to the setting of the new growth system and the imperfect choice of server. But why was it activated? Therefore, Lu Wu looked for Bailey, who was eating. Bailey was dumbfounded as well. She had no idea why Lu Wu said that the unlicensed server had been activated. She had not even started to design the many settings for the unlicensed server. This made Lu Wu even more confused. He did not understand what was going on, so he turned on his computer and started searching for information about Battle Online. Immediately, a large number of inquiries appeared. An epic-making masterpiece, Battle Online, officially launched in non-server. Players can make reservations in advance. Battle Online has officially launched its non-server. Good days are here for African players. I've been eagerly waiting for the good news for non-server players. Battle Online has officially entered the game. The date has been confirmed. On June 11th, Battle Online will open its non-server official website and game download. Battle Africa has been released ahead of schedule. The game we've been waiting for is finally here. Lu Wu was confused. The first thing that came to Lu Wu's mind when he saw the information was that it was fake news. As the big boss behind the scenes, I didn't even know that the server was about to open, and yet you, the gaming media, knew about it in advance? At this moment, Lu Wu really had a toothache. He quickly logged into the official website of Battle Online and found that the players of the 4 major servers were already discussing the issue of the opening of the non-server. Obviously, the players of the 4 major servers had also believed the fact that the non-server was about to be launched. This gave Lu Wu a headache. Fortunately, there were also players who raised doubts about this. Wandering Swordsman, hell, that can't be right. Before Battle Online launched a new server, it would always open up the forum and function options of the second-level page in advance. Why is it so sloppy this time? Star Universe, Europe, yeah, that's what I'm curious about too. When the European server was launched, it was publicized for a long time in advance. Many places had embedded the advertisements of Battle Online and waited for a few days before it was launched. This time, it's too fast. Pegasus Meteor Fist, Asia, you're right. It was the same when the Asia server was launched. Agent 173 had carried out 2 weeks of large-scale publicity. This time, the opening of the non-server was indeed too sloppy. It's not the style of a sh*TTY official. Shueli_the_strongest. Most importantly, since the non-server will be launched tomorrow, where's the official announcement? And the non-server forum? None of these are there. Are the non-server players raised by their stepmothers? Of course, maybe they are. Laughing emoji. Crayon_Shinchan. I strongly protest that the non-server doesn't have a forum. Otherwise, how would I argue with them? I'll let them feel the horror of the Bakey trolls first. Laughing emoji. A_large_wolfdog replied to Crayon_Shinchan. You only know how to argue with others. You stubborn trolls. I'll find you sooner or later and beat you to death. Crayon_Shinchan replied to A_large_wolfdog, patting the dog's head with a smile. Actually, I've already exposed myself. However, I'm very relieved that he's very reliable and didn't mention my name. What makes me even happier is that it seems like he can't run around at all. So, my crisis has been resolved and you still can't do anything to me. Ha ha ha, laughing emoji. Although many players believed in the opening of the non-server, there were also some who raised their doubts. The obvious point was that the opening of the non-server was too sloppy. It was completely different from the way the Battle Online official launched several servers previously. More importantly, the official website of Battle Online did not have a category page for the non-server. In the eyes of many players, these questions were clearly illogical. Lu Wu could not help but frown when he saw the players discussing about it. Then, he looked for Bailey and began to investigate the matter. After all, it was not a trivial matter. Lu Wu wanted to know who spread the rumor and what their purpose was. With the help of the all-powerful little Bailey, the investigation went smoothly. Lu Wu soon found out where the original source of the news came from. At first, the news about the opening of the non-server for Battle Online came from a media outlet called Sunlight. It was a small media organization with only 10 people and was not considered an authoritative media outlet at all. Lu Wu was very puzzled about this. Why would the news reported by this small media outlet be believed by so many African players? In order to find out the truth, Lu Wu began to investigate the matter in depth. At the same time, he wanted to know the reason for this media outlet to do so. He did not believe that this media outlet was trying to create a rumor to gain popularity. Because this kind of popularity was only temporary. The consequence would be to bear the wrath of thousands of players who were waiting for it. This was definitely not an action that would make up for the loss. In order to find out the reason, Lu Wu clicked on the original news that Battle Online would be logging into the non-server, and began to read it. The content of this news was an introduction to Battle Online. After Lu Wu read it, he did not find any problems. However, there was a link below the news. It was labeled Battle Online official website link. It was this link that made Lu Wu very surprised. The domain name of the link was not the real Battle Online official website link at all. Lu Wu still clicked on the link with astonishment. Then, Lu Wu was even more confused because the website after the link was redirected was exactly the same as the Battle Online official website. Main page, forum, 4 server categories, live stream category, forum category, game friends list, mailbox, and so on. Everything was available. If one were to look at the official website, there would be no flaws at all. Perhaps many veteran players could not find any problems with this website. However, compared to the Battle Online official website, this fake website had an additional option. Game reservation channel. Lu Wu clicked on it curiously. Then, a pop-up window appeared and a few big words appeared. June 11th, Battle Online begins. Below the pop-up window, there was a line of words. Due to the overdraft of Battle Online's server maintenance, the company has temporarily decided to implement a charging system for the game. Pre-ordering this game costs $1,888. Do you want to transfer to the payment channel? If the payment is successful, you will be able to download the game on June 11th and start Battle Online. How shameless! Who doesn't know that Battle Online uses love to generate electricity? How dare they set up a buyout system? Lu Wu could not help but widen his eyes when he saw this message. Now, he finally knew what the small gaming media organization was trying to do. It turned out to be a scam website. They put in so much effort to create a one website just to scam a wave of non-server players who were waiting for the game before it was launched. Moreover, they would scam as many as they could. Obviously, they were prepared to run away after scamming them. This infuriated Lu Wu. The Great Battle Army, have such a good reputation. If I were to be fooled by you, wouldn't my reputation be tarnished? However, Lu Wu did not take action immediately. Instead, he asked Bailey to skip the payment option and went to the next page to see the subsequent settings of this fake website. At this moment, another pop-up window appeared. Service launch discount, starting from 30% Soul Coins, event details. Anyone who purchases soul coins before the launch of the game will enjoy a 30% discount. In addition, the company promises that the soul coins redeemed by topping up can be used across the entire server. Looking at the content above, Lu Wu was speechless. You guys are so evil. Chapter 419. Lu Wu could not help but facepalm when he saw that there was a top-up channel behind the game reservation interface. This is a little too much. You even made the top-up channel page for me in advance. I really have to thank you for that. In fact, Lu Wu also felt it was a pity that this was fake. Otherwise, he would have wanted to top up his account since he was short of soul coins. After all, to Lu Wu, money was not as useful as soul coins. If he could top up his account at a 30% discount, he would spend all his money and leave some for Bailey to buy snacks. Lu Wu did not know whether to laugh or cry. After exiting the phishing website, he immediately asked Bailey to hack the phishing website. Otherwise, he was afraid that there would be more players who did not know the situation and would be deceived. Subsequently, he posted a notice on the official website of Battle. Regarding the fake activation of the non-server, please do not be fooled. The so-called non-server Battle official website is a fake phishing website. Content. Players, please note that regarding the activation of the non-server, everything reported by various gaming media is purely fictitious. Please do not take it seriously. At the same time, according to the official investigation of Battle, the cause of this incident came from the non-media organization Light of the Sun. The content of the report is purely fictitious. The link in the report leads to an illegal phishing website and is not the main page of Battle official website. Players, please identify it carefully and do not be fooled. Attached is a collection of phishing website screenshots. Attached is a collection of identifying methods. Official Battle Game Team announcement. As soon as the official announcement was released, the originally heated topic among the players was suppressed. A large number of players flocked to the official post. Obviously, the official announcement was beyond the expectations of many players because many players believed the activation of the non-server. After all, a large number of gaming media reported the same thing. However, there were also some players who had already seen through everything and were not surprised by such an outcome. Surely _the strongest. I have already seen through everything. It is indeed fake news. After all, it does not fit the style of Battle at all. Proudly Akeem. JPG. Crayon _Shinchan. Dog official, look what I found in the attached picture. A top-up channel. Look at the pirated version of the game. Don't you have any idea what's going on? Laughing emoji. Watermelon _Taro. Whoa, dog officials. I just went to look for that fake phishing website out of curiosity, and then I realized that I couldn't log in to the website. Tell me, did you guys do it? Did you guys secretly do it? Peppa _Boar. Dog official, how dare you block that website? Give me back my top-up channel. Hurry up and give it back to me. I want a 30% discount. You have to bear this loss. Don't tell me it's fake, I'm not listening. Pokemon _Master. Ha ha ha, dog official, how dare to block our top-up channel. You are shameless. Give it back. Laughing emoji. Invincible _loneliness. Stupid official. You're already a mature official. It's time for you to open a top-up channel. Even the imposters are more aware and motivated than you are. They know that it's time to earn money. Look at you guys. Sigh. Assassin's Creed. Pfft, the truth is making me choke. This is too awesome. The so-called non-server is actually a fake phishing website, and there's even a top-up channel. This is amazing. Now I want to know if this fake website has cheated anyone. Roasting _Jade _hair while _hugging _Chong-yi. I think it's a lot of people. After all, there are many loyal African players waiting for Battle Royale in the middle of the game. Brick moving _expert. I think they're running for their lives. But I think Battle Royale has the ability to help these players recover their losses. After all, isn't the technology of this dog official the most advanced in the world? Laughing emoji, African Lion King. This kind of method can only deceive new players. Old players all know that the sh*TTY officials use their love to generate electricity and have no interest in money. Opening the top-up channel function is even more far-fetched. Let them sell soul coins at a 30% discount? I don't think they can do that even if they break the bones of Battle Royale's boss. Laughing emoji. I want to set the pace. Let's not get sidetracked. Let's ask the dog official to give us back our top-up channel. What? Are you saying it's fake? It has nothing to do with you officials? I advise you to look at the 40-meter sword in my hand and think carefully before you speak. Laughing emoji. After issuing the warning announcement, Lu Wu was shocked to find that the players did not seem to care about the harm of the phishing website. Soon, the topic of the discussion was the 30% discount channel on the pirated website. With the theme that the fake website is more ambitious than the dog official, it started another wave of public opinion. They all hoped that the dog official would be more ambitious. While they were greedy, they should learn to fish for money and try to earn some dirty money, even if it was just for a day. Lu Wu did not know whether to laugh or cry. Only the idiotic netizens of the Battle Royale forum could do something like this to the players, asking the Battle Royale forum to cheat them. However, if there was a 30% discount channel, he would like to top up his coins. How could it be the players' turn? Therefore, it was not realistic at all. As for exchanging the soul coins in his inventory for the players' money, it was even more impossible. After Lu Wu issued the announcement in the official form, many gaming media started to write articles and report on this blunder without Lu Wu having to do anything. After all, Battle Online had an extraordinary status in the gaming circle. This was considered a hot topic in the gaming circle. The number of players who paid attention to this matter was incomparably large. Naturally, they were willing to take the initiative to report it. Soon, the truth spread to the African region. At this moment, many African gaming media changed their tune and began to copy the foreign media's report to clarify the truth. This was how the media worked. Many hot topics would rush to reprint and report as soon as there was a breaking point, for fear of being slow. Sometimes, they would not even know the whole story and the truth of the matter. Moreover, after the truth was clarified, they would skillfully shift the blame to the media that they reprinted, saying that their media was innocent and that they were only reprinting and had nothing to do with the incident. After the truth was revealed, the Light of the Sun media agency instantly became the focus of the gaming circle. As the source of this blunder, Lu Wu did not even need to do anything. The angry African players started to report crazily. Local reports, online reports, human flesh searches, and so on. The African players used every method they could think of to take down this media company. All of this happened too suddenly. The mastermind, the Light of Sun agency, who was ready to make a profit and run away, was caught unprepared. What made them even more stunned was that the website that they had worked so hard to build was hacked within 2 days. They could not access the website at all. Fortunately, they were already prepared to run away. After all, when they were ready to make a profit, they were ready to run away. They just did not expect it to happen so soon. The only thing that comforted them was that they had earned a large amount of top-up money from the African players. For safety's sake, they transferred the money after the players successfully top up into dozens of overseas bank accounts that they had prepared in advance. Even if the top-up accounts were blocked, they did not have to worry about anything. A storm was brewing outside. They hurriedly began to escape through the channels, preparing to retreat overseas. However, what they did not know was that Lu Wu had already locked on to them. How could he let them go so easily? Not only did they hurt the many players who loved Battle Online, but they also damaged Battle Online's reputation and Lu Wu's own interests. For such an incident, he had to kill the chicken to show the monkey. Therefore, on the same day, Lu Wu asked Bailey to hack all the overseas accounts. He used the artifact to calculate all the money flows in the accounts and transferred all the original amount back to the accounts of the players who were cheated. Everything that Lu Wu had done had undoubtedly caused the Light of Sun's media personnel, who were the masterminds behind this blunder, to break down. His phone kept ringing with transfer notifications, but there was nothing he could do. Even when he called overseas and tried to freeze the accounts to prevent further transfers, it was all in vain under the all-powerful Bei Li's means. All the funds, including the original funds in these overseas accounts, were all emptied. A total of 34 overseas bank accounts were cleared in just a few minutes, with a total amount of 9.3 billion. The Light of Sun's personnel, who were the masterminds behind all this, only received a bunch of transfer messages in the end. They were left with nothing else. However, this was not the end. While they were escaping, Lu Wu synchronized and shared their coordinates on the internet. This step was the final blow. The Light of Sun's personnel, who were devastated, began to throw away all their electronic products. They thought that the other party had located them through mobile phones and other electronic devices, so they even changed their escape route. However, they were still too naive. Even without these electronic devices, it was still too easy for Lu Wu to locate them with the artifact in hand. An inescapable net was formed. Relying on the location, the Light of Sun's personnel were found very quickly. However, they were found by a group of loyal fans of Battle Expedition. What came next was a brutal beating. After all, they had cheated the feelings of so many African players. How could they not be angry? They could not escape a brutal beating. Even if they wailed and begged for mercy, it would be of no use. After that, they were found by the African police with bruises all over their faces. No, it should be said that they were saved. At that time, many media outlets were present. They took many photos of their bruises, which made many African players feel better. Everything ended perfectly. However, just when Lu Wu thought that it was over, another wave of discussion was set off on the official website of Battle Expedition. Lion King of Africa. I don't believe that this is not the work of a dog official. Is this the power of black technology? Laughing emoji. Shueli_the_strongest. I think the dog official will never admit it. Laughing emoji. Crayon_Shinchan. Latest news. Something magical just happened. All the funds of the players who were cheated have been returned. Do you dare to say that this is not the work of a dog official? Slams the table emoji. Roasting_jade_hair_Chang'e. The dog official is really awesome. I would believe it even if you told me that the dog official could invent the elixir of immortality. By the way, I want to reserve a bottle first. I want to play Battle Expedition for a lifetime. Laughing emoji. Lu Wu was speechless when he heard the comments of the players. After all, this was illegal. Although everyone was well aware of it, he still had to put on a show. Therefore, he immediately posted a post. Official announcement. Regarding the players' discussion of manipulating the money transfer and private positioning, Battle Expedition's official solemnly stated, "It has nothing to do with me." As soon as this announcement was posted, the players replied in unison. Shameless thief, how dare you quibble? Chapter 420. The Jinxiu Mountain of Chi Dragon. After the heavy rain, the road on the mountain was covered in mist. On both sides of the wet stairs, the lush leaves were still dripping with rain. It was a lively scene. In the Golden Bell Temple on the mountain, a handsome man dressed in monk attire was sitting on a cushion with his legs crossed. He put his palms together and listened to the lecture of an old monk in a kasaya beside him. Yuan Fong, this cultivation is ascetic. I won't give you any money when you leave the mountain. All the sufferings you go through will be the training of your Buddha nature. I hope you can comprehend Buddhism from it. Master, what about my meals? Yuan Fong raised his head in confusion. I'll give you the alms bowl. You can beg for alms yourself. What if others don't give me meals? Yuan Fong continued to ask. Then I'll go to another house. The old monk said calmly. What if I go to another house? At this moment, the veins on the old monk's forehead bulged. Ascetic cultivation requires you to face hunger, cold, and exhaustion. If you don't get food when you beg for alms, you can only endure it. Master, can I work when I'm hungry? Yuan Fong continued to ask. Work? At this moment, the old monk felt his blood pressure rising again. He quickly said Ba to calm himself down. No. Master, can I not go to ascetic cultivation? Yuan Fong asked pitifully. You're already an adult. Ascetic cultivation is the training of your mind. You can't just say no. If you return to the temple early or if I find out that you broke the rules of ascetic cultivation, I'll kick you out. The old monk scolded with a frown. All right. Master, when is the meal? I'll eat more so that I don't starve. The old monk was speechless. The old monk felt extremely tired after taking in such a disciple. Other than eating and fighting, he had nothing else to do. In the afternoon, Yuan Fong, who still wanted to stay in the temple, was finally kicked out of the mountain. He began his year-long ascetic cultivation. At this moment, Yuan Fong held the alms bowl and went down the mountain dejectedly in his ascetic clothes. He was very familiar with the mountain path. He often went up and down the mountain with his senior and junior brothers to buy the resources needed by the temple. Usually, there were no visitors except for certain festivals. The winding path down the mountain took an hour before they reached the foot of the mountain. There was a small town not far from the foot of the mountain. Although the town was located in a remote area, the construction was very modern. The infrastructure was also very complete. A road extended from the town to the foot of the mountain. After looking left and right, Yuan Fong scratched his chubby head, not knowing where to go. In the end, he still decided to walk in the direction of the small town. There were many people there, so he should be able to eat there. After a few hours of traveling, Yuan Fong's stomach was rumbling with hunger. He started to miss the food in the temple. However, when he recalled the stern look his master had given him before he left, Yuan Fong gave up on the thought of returning. Although there were vehicles on the way, Yuan Fong didn't dare to hitch a ride. After all, his master had instructed him to only walk during the ascetic journey. Looking at the bowl in his hand, Yuan Fong rubbed his stomach and walked into the streets of the town. His appearance immediately attracted the attention of many people because his attire was too conspicuous, and it was incompatible with modern clothing. Walking on the street, Yuan Fong could smell the fragrance from the shops on both sides of the street, which made him hungry again. After thinking for a while, he walked into a restaurant. Yuan Fong walked to the cashier and placed the bowl on the counter. He looked at the dozing boss and said, "Boss, I'm begging for alms." The boss was immediately awakened. He opened his eyes and immediately saw Yuan Fong standing in front of him. "Boss, I'm begging for alms." Yuan Fong continued. "You're a real monk?" The boss was stunned. "Yes, my Dharma name is Yuan Fong." Yuan Fong nodded immediately. "You monks are so confident when begging for alms nowadays?" The boss was a little dumbfounded when he saw the calm expression on Yuan Fong's face. "Boss, I want to eat this, and this." Yuan Fong didn't seem to hear the boss and pointed at the menu on the wall. The boss, "Brother, this is a small business. You can go to another one." At this moment, the boss decisively chose to chase his customer away. Yuan Fong couldn't help but frown when he heard that. "Boss, actually, I can ask for less." At this moment, the veins on the boss's forehead were throbbing. He had already expressed his intentions so clearly. Why was this monk still so thick-skinned? "Little monk, this is really a small business. You should go to another one." After thinking about it, the boss still said tactfully. This time, Yuan Fong didn't say anything else. He picked up the bowl on the counter, turned around, and walked out of the restaurant. As if he had thought of something, he suddenly turned around and said to the boss of the restaurant, "Buddha bless you." Then, he left without looking back. At this moment, the boss felt like he had been scolded, but he had no evidence. After leaving this restaurant, Yuan Fong went to another one and began a new round of begging. Yuan Fong's attitude towards begging for alms had always been the same. Boss begging. Righteous, neither overbearing nor servile. As a result, all of his attempts at soliciting alms failed. None of the restaurants were willing to give him food. This made Yuan Fong very vexed. The sky was gradually getting dark, but he was still hungry. He didn't even have a place to spend the night. At this moment, Yuan Fong's eyes lit up. He suddenly noticed a man with unkempt hair and a dirty face sitting in a corner not far away. At this moment, he was eating pancakes, one in his left hand and one in his right hand. He was eating happily, making Yuan Fong even hungrier. After thinking about it, Yuan Fong hurriedly took a few steps forward and walked to the man with unkempt hair. Benefactor, begging. The man who was eating the pancake widened his eyes as if he had choked. He couldn't help but start coughing. Then, he hurriedly picked up the water bottle on the ground and poured it into his mouth. After regaining his composure, the man glared at Yuan Fong and said, "That's right. You're begging me?" Yuan Fong immediately nodded. "Yes. Do you know what I do for a living? I'm King beggar. Doesn't your conscience hurt?" The beggar said in disbelief. "So what if I'm a beggar? Master said that all beings are equal, so everyone is equal," Yuan Fong said seriously. At this moment, the beggar was speechless. He felt that what the monk said did make sense. However, it was impossible for him to hand over the pancake in his hand. So, he hurriedly said, "You're a kind-hearted monk. This is my dinner. If I share it with you, I'll have to go hungry tomorrow. You definitely can't bear to see that." Buddha once cut off his flesh to feed the eagle and sacrificed himself to feed the tiger. Benefactor, you're just giving me a piece of pancake. It's insignificant. If you go hungry tomorrow, it'll be a training for your mind. It'll be of great help to your future. At this moment, the beggar really wanted to punch Yuan Fong in the head and shout, "Training your ass! Get lost. I'm being polite to you, but you're really taking advantage of me? Don't disturb me while I'm eating the pancake. Get lost." At this moment, the beggar's expression instantly changed as he cursed angrily. Hearing this, Yuan Fong's expression didn't change. He said, "Buddha bless you," and turned to leave. "Bald donkey, may you die without descendants." Thinking that Yuan Fong was secretly cursing him, the beggar looked at Yuan Fong's back and cursed angrily. At this moment, Yuan Fong suddenly turned around and looked at the beggar with a solemn expression. It gave the beggar a fright, thinking that Yuan Fong was going to attack. "Benefactor, I'm a monk. What you said is very reasonable." With that said, Yuan Fong turned around calmly with an indifferent expression. However, the beggar was dumbfounded. At this moment, he suddenly felt that the monk's words seemed to make sense. After some thought, the beggar shouted at the departing Yuan Fong again, "May you have many children and grandchildren." However, after saying that, the beggar was stunned again. He suddenly felt that something was wrong. Looking at the pancake in his hand, he suddenly lost his appetite. The sky had already darkened. Yuan Fong, who had failed to solicit alms again, walked to a stone bridge. He looked up at the starry sky and couldn't help but sigh. "I'm so hungry. Is this the suffering that Master was talking about? It's really too bitter. Master, I can't take it anymore." In Yuan Fong's opinion, the so-called suffering and hunger were equal signs. At this moment, a commotion suddenly came from afar. Then, a man appeared in Yuan Fong's sight, and behind him was a large group of people. "Don't run! How dare you steal from me and seduce my sister?" The man in the lead shouted at the man running in front of him with a ferocious expression. "I'm not asleep," the man hurriedly shouted. "You're courting death." At this moment, the bearded man in the lead became even more furious. The man who was running for his life was scared out of his wits when he saw this. He hurriedly sped up and arrived in front of Yuan Fong. When he saw that Yuan Fong was blocking his way, he immediately turned to the side and tried to pass by him. However, Yuan Fong blocked his way again and collided with him. Yuan Fong didn't take a step back, but the man fell to the ground with a thud. F***ck. The man hurriedly got up and glared at Yuan Fong, but he didn't attack. He wanted to run for his life again, but he was blocked by Yuan Fong again. Almsgiver, you stole something from others. You'd better return it. Master said that you have to correct your mistakes. Damn bald donkey, get lost. The man glared at Yuan Fong angrily and immediately raised his hand to smash Yuan Fong's chest. The punch landed squarely on Yuan Fong's chest, but Yuan Fong didn't move at all. However, the man cried out in pain and fell to the ground again. At this time, a large group of people arrived and surrounded Yuan Fong and the man. Monk, thank you very much. The man in the lead said with a smile. Then, he walked to the man on the ground and reached out to grab his hair. Where's my glazed grass? Boss. I sold my soul coins. The man on the ground said with a sad face. What about the soul coins? I bought equipment. The man looked desperate. F***ck, you F***king know that the glazed grass was planted by me, but you still stole it. You're courting death. As he spoke, the man raised his hand and was about to slap him. However, before the slap landed, it was stopped by Yuan Fong. Monk, what are you doing? The bearded man couldn't help but frown. Almsgiver, it's not right to hit people. Monk, this is none of your business. Go away. He stole something from me, so I naturally have to teach him a lesson. As he spoke, the bearded man raised his hand again. However, this time, he was stopped by Yuan Fong again. The bearded man was instantly displeased. Just as he was about to speak, he heard Yuan Fong say calmly, Almsgiver, hit him gently. Don't kill him, or else it'll be hard to deal with. At this moment, everyone around was stunned. They thought that Yuan Fong was going to stop them, but they didn't expect him to say such words. Sure. The bearded man couldn't help but nod. Chapter 421. Under the desperate eyes of the man on the ground, Yuan Fong stood aside and watched him get beaten up. He even looked eager to try. After a round of beating, the bearded man waved his hand to stop his brothers. Then, he walked up to Yuan Fong and said, I'm sorry. Monk, thank you so much. You're welcome. The Buddha said that persuading people to do good is a great virtue, Yuan Fong said in a tone that was neither arrogant nor humble. Hearing that, the dying man on the ground opened his eyes. At that moment, he really wanted to give Yuan Fong the middle finger. Why didn't you say that saving a life is better than building a 7-storied pagoda? B****, fake monk. Anyway, thank you very much. I'll remember this favor. My name is Wang Long, the owner of the Divine Dragon Fitness Club nearby. If you have any difficulties, you can look for me. After saying that, Wang Long patted Yuan Fong's right shoulder, then waved at his brothers, signaling them to leave. Wait, benefactor, I happen to have a problem. If you can help me, it will be a great virtue. Yuan Fong immediately called out to Wang Long, who was about to leave. What happened to you? Wang Long turned around and asked. I'm hungry. If it's possible, benefactor, do you want to give me some food? Yuan Fong's expression was indifferent when he said that. He was not embarrassed at all. Hearing that, Wang Long could not help but laugh. He thought it was something big, but it turned out that it was just a matter of having a meal. To him, it was not a big deal at all. Vegetarian or meat? Wang Long said with a teasing smile. I'm a monk, so I don't eat meat. I just want some simple vegetarian dishes, Yuan Fong answered seriously, his expression extremely solemn. This stunned Wang Long and he quickly apologized. Originally, he just wanted to make a joke. After all, there were too many fake monks nowadays. However, it was obvious that Yuan Fong was not one of them. After a while, in a restaurant in the town, Wang Long looked at the more than 10 meat dishes on the table and Yuan Fong, who was still ordering. He cursed in his heart. This B***starred monk is really good at pretending. Benefactor, it's about time. It's not good for digestion if you eat too much. After ordering, Yuan Fong put his palms together devoutly. Monk, aren't you a vegetarian? Wang Long couldn't help but ask. Almsgiver, please don't misunderstand. I'm doing this for your sake. I don't touch wine or meat. Master warned me many times before we left, so I don't dare to disobey him. Realizing that he had misunderstood again, Wang Long had an embarrassed look on his face. He felt extremely guilty and could not help but nod. Then let's eat. Yuan Fong nodded. Then, he picked up his chopsticks and bowl. He chanted Amitabha and reached for a bowl of vegetables with his chopsticks. Seeing this, Wang Long and the others also raised their chopsticks and prepared to eat. Immediately after that, they were dumbfounded because Yuan Fong's hand had turned into a phantom, dancing back and forth on the dining table rapidly. The food on the table began to fall at an extremely fast speed. F***ck. Seeing this scene, Wang Long could not help but curse. Benefactor, why aren't you eating? Yuan Fong suddenly put down his chopsticks and looked at Wang Long looking at the messy dining table. Wang Long lamented in his heart. You eat, we're not hungry. If that's the case, then I won't stand on ceremony. Benefactors, please don't hold back. If you're hungry, you still have to eat. Your body is the capital to wholeheartedly pursue Buddhism. After saying that, Yuan Fong's hand shook again and quickly moved back and forth on the dining table. Looking at Yuan Fong, who looked like a hungry ghost, Wang Long sighed in his heart. Although this monk's behavior was very different from others, he was still quite an honest person. Seeing that the vegetables on the table were getting lesser and lesser, Wang Long was about to call for the waiter to add a few more dishes. At that moment, he suddenly realized that a piece of meat seemed to be missing from the plate of meat in front of him. His eyes immediately widened. Monk king eat meat. When he heard this, Yuan Fong suddenly stopped eating and looked up with an indifferent expression. Benefactor, I'm a Buddhist disciple. I don't eat meat. You must be mistaken. There was clearly a piece of pork rib in front of me. Why is it gone? Wang Long's eyes widened. Benefactor, you might be mistaken. I really don't eat meat. Yuan Fong shook his head again, denying it. Looking at the extremely sincere Yuan Fong, Wang Long was puzzled, but he still nodded. While Yuan Fong continued eating, this time, Wang Long stared at the few meat dishes on the table. He wanted to see if he had really seen wrongly or if the little monk was really secretly eating. A moment later, Wang Long slapped the table excitedly. Little monk, I really saw it clearly this time. You just ate meat. Yuan Fong stopped again and sighed helplessly. Benefactor, I really don't eat meat. I said, if you want to eat then eat. Why are you pretending? It's not like I'm stopping you from eating. Wang Long couldn't help but glare. Benefactor, don't slander me. Meat is a taboo in Buddhism. Why would I break the precept? Yuan Fong let out a long sigh, looking innocent. This made Wang Long's eyes widen. Little monk, you really won't admit it? Oh Amitabha! Since I didn't eat it, why should I admit it? You said it. Don't say that I didn't give you a chance. After saying that, Wang Long called the waiter over and asked him to remove all the meat dishes. Little monk, it's not too late to regret it. I, Wang Long, am not a stingy person. It's just a meal. As long as you admit that you eat meat, I'll give you another table, Wang Long said while glaring. Benefactor, give me another table. However, it's not that I want to eat it. I know that you guys aren't used to eating vegetarian food, so I'm thinking for you. Yuan Fong put his palms together and said calmly. What a shameless monk! At this moment, whether it was Wang Long or the brothers he brought, the same thought emerged in their minds. Wang Long was about to continue speaking when suddenly, there was a commotion outside the restaurant. He immediately turned his head and saw a group of people rushing over. Beside the leading man was the thief who had been beaten up by them. Realizing that they were not friendly, Wang Long gave his brothers at the table a look. Then, they all stood up. The leading man also walked to the table at this moment. He looked at Wang Long and raised the steel pipe in his hand. Wang Long, how dare you hit my brother? He stole from me. Can't I teach him a lesson? Wang Long looked at the leading man and said coldly. Isn't it just a game? Do you think you'll lose a piece of your flesh if something is missing in the game? The leading man looked very angry at this moment. Ask your brother how much the thing in the game is worth. Wang Long looked at the man who had been beaten up before and said, How much? At this moment, the leading man also frowned. Not much. It's just a fourth-stage medicinal herb. It's only 180,000. However, it's still a loss for me to beat him up. Wang Long looked at the leading man coldly and said. Hearing this, the leading man immediately turned his head to look at his brother. When he found that his brother lowered his head and did not dare to answer, he knew that Wang Long was right. At this moment, his face became extremely ugly and he felt a little embarrassed. Wang Long, 180,000 yuan, right? I'll pay for it. However, I can't let you off the hook for beating up my brother, the leading man said in a deep voice. What do you mean? What do I mean? It means that I'll pay you 180,000 yuan, but you'll also have to be beaten up, the leading man said with a gloomy face. You try. Wang Long also glared at him, not giving in at all. The atmosphere was at daggers drawn at this moment. The two groups of people were ready to fight, and the restaurant owner standing in the distance was already frightened. At this moment, Yuan Fang's figure suddenly appeared between the two groups of people. He chanted, "Oh, Amitba," and then said, "Donors, it's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. Being competitive will eventually hurt you. Where did this crazy monk come from?" The leading man immediately waved his hand and slapped Yuan Fang's head. "Pa!" With a crisp sound, Yuan Fang stood there without any reaction, while the leading man subconsciously grabbed his trembling right hand. "Donor, have you vented your anger?" Yuan Fang said with a smile. "Vented my anger, my ass." The leading man felt a little embarrassed and immediately raised his foot to kick Yuan Fang's chest. This time, Yuan Fang still did not dodge and took the kick head-on. However, there was no change in his expression. Instead, the leading man took a few steps back. F***ck. Seeing that the little monk was beaten because of him, Wang Long couldn't help but grab the chair next to him and was ready to fight. "Donor, don't be impulsive. They have a lot of people. You'll be at a disadvantage if you really fight. Let me do it." Yuan Fang immediately stopped Wang Long, then turned to the leading man and said with a smile, "Donor, don't be impulsive. Let's go out and settle this. A shop owner needs to do business too." The leading man looked at Yuan Fang with a livid face. The slap and kick just now made him feel like he had hit an iron block. The monk was fine, but he was in so much pain, which was really embarrassing. However, he still nodded. Then the two groups of people walked out of the restaurant under the surprised look of the restaurant owner. After coming outside, the two groups of people walked for a while and came to an open space. Yuan Fang stopped and turned to look at the leading man with a smile. "Donor, how do you want to solve it?" "How? I said I'll pay for it. But my brother was beaten, so Wang Long has to suffer too." Wang Long took a step forward and said sternly, "You can try. Hey donors, it's not a big deal. How about this? I'll take the beating for this donor and let it go." "No, I'm not afraid of him," Wang Long immediately said. "Donor, you have to believe me. I'm a martial monk of the Golden Bell Temple. It's normal for me to be beaten. I'll be fine." Yuan Fang immediately stopped Wang Long. "Little monk, why are you so stupid? They have steel pipes. No matter how good you are at taking the beating, can you withstand it?" "I can withstand it. I've been beaten by my senior and junior brothers since I was a child. Naturally, steel pipes are nothing to me." Yuan Fang continued to smile. "Monk, you're really stupid. How can this be the same? At least your senior and junior brothers know what they're doing. They don't care about this. Wang Long couldn't help but scold. Hearing this, Yuan Fang's expression turned into one of astonishment. At this moment, he suddenly thought of the crazy things his senior brothers had done in order to let him practice the infinite Maha. He suddenly felt a little sad. Throwing me into a pot of boiling oil and cooking me on fire for a night is knowing what to do? Locking me in a water dungeon, filling me with water, and holding my breath for several hours is knowing what to do? Making me be the first to get up in the morning and hit my head against the clock is knowing what to do? Yuan Fang still remembered clearly that his senior brother once said that if there was a chance, it would be great to get an AK. When that time came, he would take advantage of Yuan Fang sleeping to shoot him with a magazine of bullets. Chapter 422. Thinking back to his experience in Golden Bell Temple, Yuan Fang suddenly felt extremely sad. He really regretted it. Actually, Yuan Fang didn't have this Emoku invincible body since he was young, nor was it something he had cultivated. Yuan Fang still remembered clearly that he was only 6 years old back then. Because he didn't memorize Buddhist scriptures properly, he was punished by his master to not eat dinner. In the end, Yuan Fang was awakened by hunger at night. He began to wander around the temple in search of food. As a result, he inexplicably entered an old room in the back mountain of the temple. After rummaging inside, he found several golden elixirs in a box on the altar. Yuan Fang, who was already red with hunger, didn't hesitate and swallowed all the golden pills. However, not long after he swallowed them, he felt intense pain all over his body and fainted. When Yuan Fang woke up the next day, he was shocked to find the senior monks of the temple surrounding him with terrified expressions. Later, Yuan Fang found out that he had swallowed the srira of the founder of Golden Bell Temple. That was also the first time he was beaten up, and it was by all the senior monks of the temple. However, it was also because of that beating that the senior monks of Golden Bell Temple noticed that Yuan Fang's body seemed to be different. It had become extremely tough. Yuan Fang was fine after the beating, but the senior monks' hands were all swollen. In the end, they checked the ancient records and found out that Yuan Fang might have inherited the great divine power of the founder monk, Emoku immeasurable. From the records they also learned that this divine power had a lot of room for improvement. It could also be used to resonate with the Buddhist Dharma and attain the great Tao. However, according to the records, there was only one way to improve Emoku immeasurable, and that was to temper the body and constantly challenge the limits of the body. Therefore, to help Yuan Fang improve, Golden Bell Temple set up an intensive training program that lasted for more than 10 years. During this period, the senior and junior brothers who were the main force claimed that it was for Yuan Fang's good, but in fact, it was all kinds of torture. At first, it was fine. The senior and junior brothers only used rods to beat his body, but gradually, they realized that rods had no effect on Yuan Fang, so they decided to change the method of tempering. From then on, Yuan Fang felt that his senior and junior brothers were on a path of no return. They were becoming less and less human. Therefore, in Yuan Fang's opinion, being beaten with a rod was basically something that his senior and junior brothers could do. Was it a big deal? Was it? Thinking of this, Yuan Fang looked up at Wang Long and said, "Benefactor, I think that compared to our fellow brothers and sisters, they are quite capable." After saying that, Yuan Fang pointed at the other party. Wang Long. At that moment, he felt that the monk was hopeless. Wouldn't he be satisfied if he didn't get a beating? Monk Wang Long still wanted to say something, but Yuan Fang stopped him. "Almsgiver, a monk doesn't lie. Just watch. If you think I can't hold on any longer, just help me." Yuan Fang took a few steps forward and stopped in front of the leader of the group. "Almsgiver, come. I'm ready." "Monk, it's none of your business." The leader of the other party couldn't help but frown. To be honest, he was just trying to save face this time. He knew that the monk had nothing to do with this matter, so he couldn't bear to attack the monk. Benefactor, it's fine. As long as you're happy, Yuan Fong said with a faint smile. Monk, do you really want to get involved in this? At this moment, he couldn't not make a move. After all, there were so many brothers watching. But if he made a move, he would feel uneasy. Buddha bless you! Shall I bless you? At that moment, the man standing next to the leader, who was beaten up by Wang Long and the others, suddenly raised his steel pipe and swung it at the monk's head. At that moment, he was still full of resentment toward the monk. If it weren't for the monk, he wouldn't have suffered such a beating. Clang! The sound of metal colliding was heard. Yuan Fong's shiny head didn't leave any mark. Instead, the man who attacked was so shocked that his hand went numb and the steel pipe fell out of his hand. Monk! At that moment, Wang Long couldn't help but step forward. At that moment, Yuan Fong turned around calmly and winked at Wang Long. I'm fine, but this benefactor's hand seems to be bleeding. When Wang Long heard that, he couldn't help but be stunned on the spot. He turned his head and immediately found that the man's hand had split open and a trace of red was dripping down his palm. The leader was also dumbfounded when he saw that. Looking at Yuan Fong's shiny head, everyone was shocked at that moment. Monk, have you practiced martial arts? The leader looked fearful at that moment. Obviously, he knew that the monk was not someone to be trifled with. No, I haven't. Yuan Fong shook his head frankly. What do you mean? The leader's face was gloomy. He thought that Yuan Fong was unwilling to tell the truth and looked down on him. A monk does not lie. Although I am a martial monk, my master has never allowed me to practice martial art. Under normal circumstances, I am only a human pillar for my fellow martial brothers in the academy, Yuan Fong replied with a serious expression. Human support? The leader was stunned. It's a sparring partner. The kind where you are not allowed to fight back. In other words, you get beaten. Yuan Fong continued to answer. Hearing that, everyone present looked stunned. The leader also thought of Yuan Fong's previous attack in the restaurant and found that the monk's body was as hard as iron. Are you sure you can withstand it? At that moment, the leader suddenly had an idea. In fact, he just wanted to stand up for his disappointing younger brother. However, since he had already brought his brothers here, he naturally couldn't just leave like that. Besides, he didn't really want to have an irreconcilable fight with Wang Long. In the end, he just wanted to save face. Therefore, if the monk could really withstand it, then he didn't need to feel guilty, and he didn't need to completely break up with Wang Long. He could just leave. I can do it. Yuan Fong nodded again. Brothers, since someone has come forward and is willing to bear it, then let him take it for Wang Long. Let's do it. As he said that, the leader took the lead and smashed the steel pipe toward Yuan Fong's right arm. However, he subconsciously held back. Wang Long, who was standing not far away, felt his heart tighten again. When he was about to step forward, he saw Yuan Fong winking at him. Bang! The steel pipe hit Yuan Fong's right arm, but naturally it didn't cause any damage. Benefactor, in fact, you can use a little more force. It's fine as long as you can vent your anger, Yuan Fong said with a smile. These words sounded good at first, but when he thought about it, he suddenly felt uncomfortable. It was as if he was saying, "Don't worry. Didn't you eat? Monk, you said it yourself." At that moment, the leader's eyes became fierce. He immediately swung the steel pipe and smashed it again. Seeing this, the younger brothers behind also stepped forward, surrounded the monk, and smashed him with the steel pipe. The sound of metal colliding kept ringing, but Yuan Fong stood calmly on the spot, as if he wasn't the one being beaten. 5 minutes later, the few of them were panting and looking at Yuan Fong in disbelief. Benefactor, why did you stop? The leader's mouth twitched. At that moment, he really couldn't move. What kind of monster was this? Was it made of metal? Thinking of this, he said with a bitter face, "It's about time." Then, he turned his head and looked at Wang Long, Wang Long, I'll send you the 180,000 yuan. We're even. Wang Long nodded with a gloomy face. He knew that if it wasn't for the monk, he would definitely be beaten up. After saying that, the leader waved his hand and signaled for them to leave. Wait. At that moment, Yuan Fong stopped the few people who were about to leave. Monk, we really can't fight anymore. The leader turned around, feeling extremely helpless in his heart. No, since the grudge between you and this monk has been written off, the grudge between this monk and this monk hasn't been settled. Saying that, Yuan Fong pointed at the leader's younger brother. What do you mean? The leader suddenly frowned. You hit me because I wanted to repay the grudge on behalf of benefactor Wang Long and the others. This beating has written off the grudge between you and this is naturally a clean slate. However, the grudge between me and your younger brother hasn't been settled yet. I tried to persuade him to be kind, but he refused to admit his mistake. Instead, he was resentful and wanted to take revenge. So this is a grudge between this monk and him. Hearing that, the leader's younger brother's face turned pale. At that moment, in his opinion, this monk was simply a monster. If this monk really wanted to take revenge on him, it would really be over. Even his elder brother might not be able to protect him. Then what do you want? The leader's face was livid. Although he knew that it was his younger brother's fault, he couldn't ignore it. Don't worry, this monk is not a person who hates evil. Moreover, before I left, Master told me that if I encountered injustice, I must not fight and must be calm. So what do you want? The leader frowned. Let him continue hitting me with the steel pipe until I'm satisfied. Hearing that, everyone was dumbfounded. This monk was really addicted to being beaten. His method of revenge was actually to let others continue beating him. Before Master left, he repeatedly reminded me not to use force to convince others, so I can't do anything. This is all I can do. Yuan Fong chuckled. At that moment, the leader felt extremely conflicted. However, if he were to leave just like that, he was really afraid that he would offend such a terrifying monk and be secretly taken revenge on in the future. After thinking about it, he looked at his disappointing younger brother who was always causing trouble outside. He couldn't help but glare. Did you hear that? This is your own mistake. Do the same. Brother! Brother my ass! I asked you to beat people, not to be beaten. The leader couldn't help but glare as he handed the steel pipe in his hand over. The man had no choice but to take the steel pipe with his uninjured hand. Then, he turned his gaze to Yuan Fong. You're not allowed to fight back. This monk won't fight back. Come on. Gritting his teeth, the man raised the steel pipe and took a step forward, swinging it at Yuan Fong. Pung! 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 After a round of beating, the man said while panting, Monk, is that enough? Yuan Fong said calmly, Continue. Pung! 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 After another round of beating, the man's face turned pale and the web between his thumb and index finger cracked again. However, he still didn't get Yuan Fong's consent. He could only raise the steel pipe again with trembling hands. Half an hour later, the man was covered in sweat and was on the verge of collapsing. He couldn't even hold the steel pipe firmly. The recoil from every swing caused him to feel a sharp pain in his palm. At that moment, he felt like his body was falling apart. He had no strength at all. Thud! The man fell to the ground and the steel pipe fell out of his hand. He fainted from exhaustion. Monk, is that enough? The leader hurriedly went forward and said, It's enough. That's enough. The grudge between me and him has been settled, Yuan Fong finally said with a smile. At that moment, the leader couldn't hate him even if he wanted to. After all, this monk didn't do anything from the beginning to the end. Although it was the first time he saw such a method of revenge, he still felt that this monk was too King ruthless. Chapter 423. After the troublemakers left, Wang Long stared at Yuan Fong in disbelief. After all, in this materialistic era, the monk's ability was somewhat unscientific. However, in this era of information explosion, people were still very receptive to special things. At this moment, Wang Long had already regarded Yuan Fang as a hidden expert in reality. "Monk, what kind of kung fu is that?" At this moment, Wang Long suddenly felt a little itchy. "It's not kung fu. According to Master, it's a supernatural power," Yuan Fang explained seriously. "Supernatural power? Sigh, no matter what it is, can I practice it?" Wang Long asked eagerly. "Almsgiver, Master and senior brothers have already studied this point. It's not possible." "Then how did you practice it?" Wang Long's eyes widened. "I ate it," Yuan Fang answered truthfully. Wang Long was stunned on the spot. He couldn't help but think of the monk eating like a tornado. "Well, benefactor, our fate has come to an end. Let's part ways here. I'm going to continue my cultivation." At this time, Yuan Fang smiled, turned around, and walked away. Seeing this, Wang Long quickly called out to Yuan Fang. "Monk, do you have a place to stay tonight? Why don't you stay at my place?" "Benefactor, you're too polite. I don't need it. Master said that ascetic practice is to wander the world without a fixed residence. There are many days when the sky is my back and the earth is my bed. One night won't make a difference," Yuan Fang said without looking back. Then, he gradually walked away from Wang Long and the others. Looking at Yuan Fang's back, Wang Long was very surprised at this moment. In fact, in the beginning, he had a very good impression of this monk. Not everyone was willing to stand up for injustice. However, when he was in the restaurant, he felt that the monk's image had collapsed. He actually stole the meat. He was simply a fake monk. However, later on, he felt that this monk was indeed very capable. When he said that he wanted to resolve the grudge, he just wanted to teach that person a lesson and a warning. He didn't really want to take revenge. Wang Long could see that. After all, with the monk's ability, it was too easy for him to take revenge. What Wang Long found most interesting was that the monk remained unfazed by honor or disgrace. Apart from the occasional black-bellied behavior, he did indeed have the demeanor of an expert. However, since the monk was unwilling, he didn't force it. He waved his hand and left with his brothers. It was already late at night, but the town was still brightly lit. Yuan Fang once again walked to the stone bridge that he had walked on before, then followed the stairs to the bottom of the stone bridge. At the bottom of the dried-up river, there was a litter of puppies huddled together, hugging each other for warmth. Yuan Fang's arrival alarmed them, and they immediately raised their heads and started howling. Yuan Fang smiled faintly and stepped forward. With a wave of his sleeve, several pieces of flesh fell off. Smelling the fragrance of the meat, these hungry puppies immediately pounced on the meat and began to fight for food. Just like that, Yuan Fang looked at them until they finished eating. Only then did he mutter, "Oh, Amitabha, Buddha bless you." Then he turned around and left. "If you do one good deed a day, you will have 3,000 merits." Yuan Fang couldn't help but smile as he walked. Although he could eat a lot, he never broke his commandments, even if he really wanted to eat. Among the 10 commandments of killing, stealing, lust, ignorance, drunkenness, greed, anger, infatuation, eating meat was closely related to killing. However, Yuan Fang's obsession with eating meat was too deep, and it was the only taboo that required him to restrain himself with all his might. However, no matter how much he wanted to eat meat, Yuan Fang had never broken his commandments. Although he had almost eaten meat once in his early years, his master had almost passed away that time. The reason was that he had fainted from exhaustion when he was beating him up, and he had only woken up after a whole day. Since then, Yuan Fang was afraid that his master would beat him again, and his body wouldn't be able to withstand it. Therefore, he restrained himself and never touched meat again. Although he was now in the outside world, Yuan Fang still restrained himself. It wasn't that he didn't want to, but it was out of respect for his master. Just now, when Wang Long treated him to a meal, although he ordered a lot of meat, he didn't touch it at all. He just looked at it and took some with him to feed the puppies under the stone bridge. The lights in the small town gradually went out, and the surroundings became dark. Except for the bright moonlight and the stars in the sky, the surroundings gradually fell into silence. Occasionally, dogs barked and wild cats hissed. At this time, Yuan Fong randomly found a place and sat down cross-legged. With the Mako golden body, for Yuan Fong, the so-called heat and cold did not exist. It didn't matter where he slept. At most, he just wanted to comfort himself mentally. Gradually, his thoughts became scattered, and the night passed without a word. The next morning, the rising sun shone on his face, waking Yuan Fong up from his deep sleep. When he opened his eyes, Yuan Fong's first thought was, "I'm so hungry, I'm going to starve to death. Master, it's really hard to cultivate. I'm going to starve to death. The temple should have started eating by now. I miss the food in the vegetarian hall." He hadn't felt this kind of hunger in a long time. As for the reason, Yuan Fong suspected that it was because he had eaten too little last night. It wasn't like the temple, where 3 meals a day were punctual and he was always full. "I can't take it anymore, I'm going to beg for alms." The famished Yuan Fong immediately got up, walked across the stone bridge, and walked towards the crowded area. After taking a few steps, Yuan Fong suddenly stopped in his tracks. This was because he saw the familiar beggar again. He was holding a biscuit and eating it. "I really want to eat it." After some thought, Yuan Fong couldn't help but take a few steps forward. "Patron, bald donkey, get lost. I'm not giving." Realizing that it was the monk again, the beggar immediately glared and grabbed his biscuit tightly. "All right, Buddha bless you." Yuan Fong decisively turned around and walked towards his next target. The beggar. From Yuan Fong's point of view, begging for alms was also dependent on fate. Moreover, all living beings were equal, so his attitude was neither overbearing nor servile. Therefore, just like the day before, after several hours, he still hadn't received any food. At this moment, Yuan Fong really felt that he was going to die. Although he wanted to be strong, this huge threat didn't come from the outside, but from within. Even with the Mako golden body, he couldn't resist it. This was the punishment of hunger. "I'm going to die," this thought emerged in Yuan Fong's mind. Feeling that he was getting weaker and weaker, Yuan Fong couldn't help but find a corner, sit cross-legged, and began to meditate, trying to suppress his fluctuating emotions. However, his mind couldn't help but think of the vegetarian dishes in the temple. Golden-rimmed cabbage, tofu with Chinese tofu, tofu with dried plum vegetables, eggplant with fried mushrooms, slurp. The more he thought about it, the hungrier he became. At this moment, Yuan Fong felt that this ascetic practice was too terrifying. He couldn't imagine how his senior brothers survived it. Wouldn't they starve to death? "Monk, what are you doing sitting here?" At this moment, a voice sounded in his ear. Yuan Fong immediately opened his eyes and found Wang Long standing in front of him. "Patron, I'm begging for alms." Yuan Fong raised his alms bowl with trembling hands. Looking at the monk who looked very weak, Wang Long was stunned. "You're hungry again?" "Patron, I haven't had breakfast yet, of course I'm very hungry," Yuan Fong continued to speak weakly. "Don't you monks often go days without eating when you're cultivating? You haven't had breakfast yet, why do you look like you're going to die?" Wang Long couldn't help but laugh. "Patron, don't talk nonsense. How can a person go a day without eating?" Yuan Fong looked stunned. "All right, monk, I'll take you to eat breakfast. There's a breakfast shop next door that sells pretty good pork dumplings. I'll take you there to try them," Wang Long said with a smile. "Patron, I don't eat meat." Yuan Fong's eyes were filled with desire, but his voice was trembling as he refused. "Monk, this is boring. You say you want to eat, so eat. You're going too far with this nonsense." Hearing Yuan Fong's words again, Wang Long couldn't help but stare at him. "Patron, give me some vegetarian food." At this moment, Yuan Fong's eyes were filled with desire, but his words were still the same. All right. All right. Wang Long nodded helplessly. Wang Long walked with Yuan Fang for a while. During this time, Yuan Fang's swaying appearance made Wang Long dumbfounded. He couldn't understand why this invincible monk looked like he was having too much sex today. He couldn't even stand steadily. When they arrived at the breakfast shop, Wang Long ordered some breakfast and then found a place to sit with Yuan Fang. Wang Long couldn't help but remind him, "Monk, I know you can eat, so I ordered a lot. When the time comes, just eat as you like. Don't worry about me. By the way, I also ordered 2 sets of pork dumplings." "Benefactor, the Buddhist Lord blesses you," Yuan Fang said gratefully. Soon, breakfast was served one by one, and Yuan Fang also started his sweeping mode. Although Wang Long had seen Yuan Fang act like a hungry ghost yesterday, he was still extremely shocked when he saw it again. He really had the aura of a wind sweeping away the clouds and swallowing the mountains and rivers. However, this time, Wang Long was surprised to find that the monk really didn't touch the meat breakfast he ordered. After thinking about it, Wang Long thought that the monk was embarrassed. He silently pushed the dumplings forward and waited for the monk to eat. However, what he didn't expect was that although the monk looked at the dumplings with a face full of desire, he didn't eat them. Wang Long had no choice but to push the dumplings forward again. "Patron, if you push it any further, you'll push it right in front of me," Yuan Fang said with slight resentment. "Ahem. You really don't want to eat?" "I don't eat meat." Yuan Fang immediately nodded. Wang Long was speechless. This breakfast took a full hour, and Wang Long was shocked by Yuan Fang's appetite. He felt that even an elephant couldn't eat as much as this monk. When Yuan Fang was almost done eating, Wang Long finally spoke. "Monk, you can eat so much. If you really rely on begging for alms to survive, you'll probably starve to death. Who can afford to support you? We're all doing business. If you eat once, everyone else's day's work will be in vain." After thinking about it, Wang Long couldn't help but say, "How about you work at my gym? I'll provide you with food and drinks every day, but there's no salary." After thinking about it, Wang Long couldn't help but say, after all, the monk had done him a favor. "A monk doesn't work." When Yuan Fang heard this, he replied seriously. This was what his master had reminded him many times before he left. Wang Long was speechless. "You'll really starve to death if you don't work. Master said that even if I starve to death, I'm not allowed to work." At this moment, Wang Long suddenly felt very tired. It would be fine if it were a normal ascetic monk, begging for alms until a few steamed buns could last a day. However, with Yuan Fang's appetite, it was simply unrealistic for him to seek sponsored partnerships for free. He would probably eat until others went bankrupt. Therefore, for other monks, ascetic cultivation was just at the normal difficulty level. For a gluttonous like Yuan Fang, ascetic cultivation was definitely at the hellish difficulty level. This was because his begging was not called begging. It was robbing food stores. Chapter 424. However, he couldn't just ignore the monk. After all, he was indebted to the monk. Wang Long couldn't bring himself to let the monk starve to death outside. The problem was that this black-bellied monk didn't like to work. He really wanted to rely on begging for alms to get by. After thinking about it, Wang Long could only say, "Monk, why don't you stay at my gym for a few days? I'll pay for your meals for the next few days. Master also said that I don't deserve a reward without doing anything." Yuan Fang rubbed his round belly and said, "Your master wants to kill you." Wang Delong couldn't help but widen his eyes. "How can that be? Master is the closest person to me," Yuan Fang retorted with a serious face. "Do you have any contact information for your master?" Wang Long thought about it and asked. "Yes, but I can't tell you. Monk, I'm trying to save you. You're not made for ascetic cultivation. You might as well go back." Wang Long couldn't help but persuade him. "That's what I told Master, but he said that if I go back halfway, He'll expel me from the sect. If I don't go back now, I'll suffer for a year, but if I go back, I'll be banished forever. Wang Long couldn't help but sigh when he heard that. Your master really isn't much. He's on par with that dog of a government. He even threatened you with a permanent ban. How ruthless! Dog of a government. Yuan Fang's face revealed a curious look. Oh, it's fine. I'm talking about something else. As he spoke, Wang Long's eyes suddenly lit up and he quickly said, Monk, does your master have any mandatory requirements for this ascetic cultivation? For example, how much distance to walk every day? Yuan Fang nodded. Master said that I have to walk all over the mountains and rivers to appreciate the scenery of the motherland. I have to walk as much as possible every day. Clap. Wang Long couldn't help but clap his hands. Monk, I know a place that's very suitable for you. The world there is very big. If you walk in it every day, you won't be able to reach the end. What kind of place are you talking about, benefactor? Can I eat my fill there every day? Yuan Fang was stunned when he heard that. It's not just filling your stomach. The spiritual ingredients there are all very delicious. I guarantee that they are vegetarian dishes that you've never eaten before. Most importantly, you can use the spiritual ingredients there to exchange for food in the real world. Yuan Fang was dumbfounded. He could understand the first half of the sentence, but the latter half of the sentence, can be exchanged for food in the real world, left him completely dumbfounded. What kind of place are you talking about? Yuan Fang scratched his head subconsciously. Battle Online. It's a 100% realistic game. Aside from a different worldview, the reality is exactly the same. The items in the game are very valuable and can be exchanged for items of the same value in real life. Naturally, food is included, Wang Long said with a smile. Things in the game can be exchanged for food? Yuan Fang was even more confused now. It's not just food. A few days ago, a lifestyle player managed to cultivate a special spiritual material and traded it for a house in real life. Wang Long said with a hint of envy. But my master wants me to train hard. Isn't it inappropriate to play games? Yuan Fang was stunned. Sigh, playing games isn't a job. Moreover, you can train hard in the game too. The experience is exactly the same as in real life. Most importantly, it can guarantee that you won't starve to death. Wang Long said immediately. Is it really as magical as you say? Come with me. I'll bring you there to try. If you think it's not good enough, you can continue your training. You don't need a little more time anyway, Wang Long continued to persuade him. At this moment, Yuan Fang finally nodded. After Wang Long paid the bill, Yuan Fang followed Wang Long and began to walk toward his fitness club. Wang Long's gym was located in the center of the town. It was surrounded by a lot of people and occupied more than 600 square meters. Yuan Fang followed Wang Long into the gym and went up to the second floor. Along the way, he saw Wang Long greeting the people around him skillfully. After leading Yuan Fang into his room, Wang Long first made Yuan Fang a cup of tea. Then, he pointed to the 3 Black Sea gaming chambers in the office and said, "These are the gaming chambers. If you want to enter Battle Online, you have to go through this kind of device. I bought 3 of them because sometimes my friends come over to play. If you think it's okay, I can let you use one." Yuan Fang learned how to use this kind of virtual device from Wang Long's explanation. After the explanation, Wang Long said again, "Monk, go ahead and try it. If you're satisfied, you can stay. Don't say that you don't deserve a reward. This gaming chamber is rented to you. You can exchange it with something in the game." Yuan Fang could not help but nod when he heard that. At this moment, his heart was filled with curiosity. Because Wang Long's explanation was too incredible, he could not believe it. However, he still wanted to give it a try. He stood up and walked to the front of the gaming chamber. He opened the door according to Wang Long's instructions and lay down sideways. "Monk, I'll add you as a friend when we enter the game. When we meet, I'll tell you some basic knowledge about the game. Hearing this, Yuan Fong nodded, then pressed the start button. The opened cabin door was immediately lowered, and the water level rose. Seeing this, Wang Long also opened a gaming cabin and lay down in it. 10 minutes later, Yuan Fong entered the game after going through the opening cinematics and choosing his character. Due to the explosion of the Mansion of the Dead, Lu Wu locked the starting point of the newbie players near the Liuli coast for their protection. At this moment, the area where Yuan Fong was located was the seaside. Looking around, Yuan Fong was stunned because everything around him was too real, so real that there were no flaws. The sea breeze caressed his face, the seabirds soaring in the sky, and the crashing sound of the waves hitting the beach. It was a completely immersive experience, and he did not feel uncomfortable at all. Oh, Amitabha! Yuan Fong could not help but put his palms together and chanted. Beep beep. At this moment, the friend list appeared and a friend request popped up. Player Wang Long is requesting to add you as a friend. Do you accept? Wang Long had already informed Yuan Fong, so he was not surprised and immediately chose to accept. At this moment, Wang Long's call request popped up again. Friend Wang Long has chosen to talk to you. Do you accept? Accept. After the conversation was connected, Wang Long's voice appeared. Monk, where are you? Use the method I told you before to share your coordinates with me. I'll be right there. Hearing this, Yuan Fong scanned the function panel and finally found the icon that Wang Long mentioned. He then sent his coordinates over. I'm also near the Liuli coast, not far from you. Stand there and wait for me. Hearing this, Yuan Fong waited patiently. During this period, his eyes would occasionally look at the battleships that had returned from the sea and the players who were standing by the shore and chatting. It was a novel experience. This was his first time seeing the sea. To be precise, it was his first time seeing it with his own eyes. A moment later, Wang Long, clad in armor, appeared in the distance and quickly ran to his side. Monk, how do you like it? Am I handsome? Wang Long pointed at his armor and grinned. Almsgiver, this place is amazing. Yuan Fong said sincerely. There's something even more amazing. This is for you. Try it, Wang Long said as he took out a red fruit from the channel and handed it over. What is this? Yuan Fong could not help but ask. Just eat it. See if I'm fooling you, Wang Long said with a smile. Yuan Fong had never refused to eat. Moreover, it was not meat, so eating it was not a taboo. Therefore, he took the fruit and took a bite. The moment it entered his mouth, the flesh of the fruit broke down and overflowed with a huge amount of spiritual energy. It began to stimulate and tease his taste bud. This was a feeling that Yuan Fong had never experienced before. The pores all over his body seemed to open up and breathe in and out the spiritual energy. The rich fruit fragrance lingered at the tip of his nose for a long time. What fruit is this? Yuan Fong's eyes widened as if he had seen a ghost. His body was actually breathing after eating the fruit. Wang Long thought that Yuan Fong was talking about the taste of the fruit and could not help but grin. This is a level 1 spiritual material fruit that I cultivated. The taste is not bad. There are so many delicious fruits in this world that you can't even imagine. Are you tempted? Wang Long was not bragging. The spiritual materials in the underworld were all nourished by spiritual energy. They were the ultimate delicacies that could not be experienced in the human world during the Age of Chaos. What? There's something even more delicious. At this moment, Yuan Fong's eyes widened even more. For a foodie like him, this sentence was too lethal. It was so lethal that he immediately decided that he wanted to stay in this world and eat all the spiritual materials and fruits. Alright, eat it. I have more after you finish eating. This world is not ordinary. There are more good things waiting for you to explore. Yuan Fong laughed when he heard that. He immediately stuffed the fruit into his mouth. The rich spiritual energy reverberated again, causing Yuan Fong to squint his eyes. He felt that it was a double enjoyment for both the taste and the body. Seeing that the monk had finished eating, Wang Long suddenly chuckled. "Monk, do you believe that you can't beat me here?" Hearing that, Yuan Fong was stunned. "Almsgiver, I don't like to fight." "No, I mean I can hurt you here." "Hurt me?" Yuan Fong finally understood what Wang Long was talking about. Just as he was about to reply, he suddenly felt his body sink. The spiritual energy still reverberating in his body seemed to have triggered something, and a muffled sound came from his body. Then, his body began to tremble violently. Under the boiling of his blood and qi, his tendons and bones sounded at the same time, and his body began to crackle non-stop. F***ck monk, what's wrong with you? Wang Long was stunned. Yuan Fong was also dumbfounded. He did not know what was wrong with him, but he felt comfortable all over, as if some shackles had been broken at this moment. At this moment, the game notification sounded. Server announcement. Congratulations to player Yuan Fong for comprehending the passive, active, skill, Naraka Dao 9 Ultimate Path, Infinite Moke. While Yuan Fong was stunned, the skill analysis interface suddenly popped up in front of him. Naraka Dao 9 Ultimate Path, Infinite Moke. Skill details. Naraka Dao, the power of the ultimate path. After successful cultivation, the player's physique will undergo a huge change and obtain infinite moke. As the infinite moke grows, the player will develop a variety of derivative skills of the ultimate path 9. Cultivation progress. Infinite moke, basic derivative skills. Infinite moke, level 1, 0/10,000. Skill introduction. Passive skill. After cultivating the infinite moke, the physical body will receive a fixed damage reduction of 500 points, 55% resistance to damage exceeding the limit, maximum damage reduction of 3,000 points. Growth potential. Skill growth. Every time the physical body receives damage, this skill will automatically gain the corresponding growth proficiency. Next unlocked ability. Fixed damage reduction increased by 300 points, damage reduction increased by 5%, maximum damage reduction increased by 2,000 points, health increased by 5%, additional passive skill, immovable golden body. Infinite Moke, level 1, 0/10,000. Skill introduction. All melee damage received will be reflected by 15% of the damage. Maximum damage reflected is 2,000 growth potential. Skill growth. Every time the physical body receives damage, this skill will automatically gain the corresponding growth proficiency. Next unlocked ability. Reflected damage increased by 3%, maximum damage increased by 1,000 points, additional passive skill, spell reflection. Skill brand. If I don't enter hell, who will? Taste the 18 paths of hell. I have my own infinite moke. When he heard the game notification, Wang Long could not help but widen his eyes. This can't be real, right? I just entered the game, and it's the Naraka Dao, which is the most difficult to learn at this stage, and it's the ultimate path. If he had not personally brought the monk into the game, Wang Long would have reported him for cheating. Chapter 425. At this moment, he could not hide his jealousy as he gazed into the distance. With the analysis menu, he had a clearer understanding of his own supernatural powers. After knowing that he could improve Mo Kuwoyang's cultivation by increasing his proficiency, he had a plan in mind. Of course, more importantly, it tasted amazing. He was definitely another wall-level player, a deadly nemesis of fragile players with high explosive power. There was only one person who had obtained such a powerful inheritance or skill since the beginning of the game, and that was Ao Jian. At this moment, Wang Long suddenly thought of the third Naraka that had recently appeared, the Prajna scarification of the ultimate path. Yuan Fong nodded in realization. Almsgiver, I'll head over now. Do you want to join me? Almsgiver, I don't kill. Yuan Fong was stunned. Monk, I'm so jealous. Wang Long said fiercely. Almsgiver, I understand. This change was normal for Lu Wu. There was no spiritual energy to nourish the body during the end of days, and Yuan Fang's body was being tempered every day. He did not have enough energy to replenish his body, so he could only rely on large amounts of food to replenish his severely depleted body. These are all evil creatures. I'm killing them to protect the Tao. How can you call it killing? Wang Long rolled his eyes. In this end of days, it was extremely difficult to master simple spells. It was even more difficult to master the power of the Naraka cultivation system. It was almost impossible, not to mention the ultimate power, the ultimate path. The players on the forum were also full of resentment. They could not understand why the player did not come out to show off. Monk. Wang Long shook his head helplessly and said, Monk, this thing has a unified name in the game. It's called spiritual material. It's a spiritual plant in the game world. It's hard to say where it's produced, but in short, it can appear anywhere. It depends on luck. Of course, now that there's an alchemist profession, many alchemists cultivate low-level spiritual materials. You can also buy them from them using soul coins. Soul coins can be obtained by killing monsters, selling equipment, etc. At this moment, he could already imagine that the monk with such abilities would soon become famous in the Battle League. At his current stage, his strongest skill could only deal around 650 damage, and this was under the situation where he didn't take defense into account. However, when Lu Wu saw the young Yuan Fang swallow the Sarira of the founding monk, his heart sank. This guy is so hungry that he can't be choosy. As the saying goes, adding flowers to embroidery is not as good as providing timely help. At this moment, the monk hasn't risen to prominence yet. I should take this opportunity to cling onto his thigh and follow him in the future. TSK, how wonderful! This was because this was the spiritual medicine that truly matched the consumption of his body. It instantly awakened the Mo-Ku potential in his body, awakening a more complete Mo-Ku's immeasurable body than it was in reality. Yuan Fang couldn't help but shake his head when he heard that. Benefactor, just a taste is enough. I've said before that I don't accept undeserved rewards. You've given me a taste, and I'll gladly accept it. However, I can't be greedy and ask for more. That's against the Buddhist Dharma. Thank you, almsgiver. Yuan Fang suddenly bowed to Wang Long with a solemn expression. That's easy. Head west of the Liuli coast. There are many wild beasts in the Liuli district, such as zombie wolves. You can go there to increase your proficiency and also level up. At this moment, Wang Long's eyes were red. He had been working hard in the game for half a year, but he had only reached level 100. He didn't even pass the Ghost Commander trial. His biggest opportunity was finding a 3 square meter spiritual field. Yet, this monk had so easily obtained the top-notch ability that he had been dreaming of. How could this be? At the same time that the server announcement rang, Lu Wu, who was behind the scenes, was also shocked. Thinking of this, Yuan Fang looked at Wang Long and said, looking at the calm monk, Wang Long suddenly had the urge to cling onto his thigh. Then, the two started to walk toward the Liuli district. Moreover, Yuan Fang was a monk, so he could only eat vegetables. He couldn't eat meat, which was more nutritious. In the end, he could only rely on eating more meals every day to stabilize the consumption of his body. What the F***ck, monk, how did you do it? Wang Long was extremely shocked. What would happen if the monk's immeasurable body encountered the prajna scarification? However, what made Yuan Fang feel helpless was that the way to cultivate the immeasurable body was no different from the way it was in reality. He still had to be beaten up. This was the only way to hone his body and increase the proficiency of his supernatural power. 500 damage reduction. One had to know that the relic was a crystallized product of his ancestors' nirvana cremation. Wouldn't it be disgusting to eat it? Pfft, that's for sure. Without me, you would have starved to death. Wang Long grinned. Monk, what do you mean by this? I'm going to report you for cheating. Wang Long looked jealous. Hearing this, Yuan Fang did not hide it. He immediately opened the attribute panel according to Wang Long's instructions and shared it with Wang Long Monk. I'll rebound again. What nonsense is this? I don't understand at all. Wang Long was dumbfounded. When he realized that it was a level 0 newbie who had mastered the ultimate power of the Naraka realm, he couldn't help but be stunned. By the way, almsgiver, where did you get this fruit? Yuan Fang asked. This was because this fruit could actually produce a reaction with his body. Moreover, after eating the fruit, the burden on his body instantly disappeared. This feeling of relaxation that he had never felt before was unbelievable. Even so, this kind of supplement was not enough. It was a little too much. If this skill hit the monk, it would reduce the fixed damage reduction by 500. In addition to the 55% damage reduction, it meant that he could only deal 82.5 damage at most. Moreover, the monk had a 15% damage reflection on all damage. Seeing this, Wang Long was stunned. Monk, rebound ineffective, damage reduction. He subconsciously took out a small notebook and wrote down Yuan Fang's name. After thinking about it, he put a parenthesis next to it and marked it with the word, bald donkey. Let's go together. I have nothing to do now. Wang Long grinned. Wang Long was speechless. At this moment, Wang Long was extremely frustrated. The monk was already so scary at level 0. He couldn't imagine how scary the monk would become when he leveled up. He was practically a walking meat tank. Fight my ass. I don't want to fight anymore, Wang Long said resentfully. However, he had to admit that these abilities were indeed terrifying. They were really exclusive to the wall. From that moment on, Yuan Fang transformed from a glutton into a glutton with a huge appetite. Jealousy. Extreme jealousy. What was even more unbelievable was that this player named Yuan Fang had already mastered the power of the Naraka realm in real life. His method of obtaining opportunities was completely different from the other players. However, Lu Wu also knew that Yuan Fang did not cultivate the supernatural power of infinite moke. Instead, he ate the essence of the relic that was branded after the elder ancestors' nirvana. That was how he mastered the power of infinite moke. If you want, I can give you a few more. I still have some here. Wang Long was shocked. Monk, do you want to see the effect of your own skill? That meant that if his ultimate skill hit the monk, he would have to suffer more damage than the monk. At this moment, an image emerged in Wang Long's mind. Yuan Fang was extremely eager for this kind of fruit that was filled with spiritual energy. Almsgiver, do you still want to fight? Yuan Fang asked expectantly. At this moment, he really wanted to know how his skill proficiency would increase when he was beaten. Yuan Fang could not help but nod when he heard that. Is there any justice in this world? However, this stupid monk was even more terrifying. He had only been in the game for about half an hour and he had already automatically mastered one of the top skills at this stage. This kind of ability was indeed a little scary to him. Not only was it immune to damage, but it could also reflect damage. Didn't that mean that as long as one's health was high enough, the reflected damage could kill someone? At first, he thought that since he was in the game, he would be no match for the monk no matter how powerful he was in real life. Who knew that this bastard monk would use a cheat the moment he entered the game, leaving no way out? Monk, you haven't told me what effect your ability has. Hurry up and show it to me. Wang Long, who was curious, finally could not hold it in any longer. He wanted to take this opportunity to hone his supernatural power according to his master's instructions. He wanted to cultivate it to the highest level and get a glimpse of the path of Buddhism. After reading the skill's introduction, Wang Long could not help but widen his eyes. What they did not know was that after the server announcement appeared, the battle official forum was already in an uproar. Players were asking about the new player who obtained this skill and were even more curious about the effect of this skill. However, there was no response for a long time. At this moment, Lu Wu was extremely curious. He immediately used the artifact to analyze this player's information and looked through his life story. What a childish scene! Wang Long was speechless. Yuan Fong chuckled and did not say anything. Almsgiver, it's okay if you don't understand. All you need to know is that I owe you a great favor. Yuan Fong chuckled. Yuan Fong had heard about the problem of soul coins from Wang Long before he entered the game. Naturally, he was familiar with it. He could not help but nod. In the outside world, Yuan Fong's body was always hungry. However, it was different in the game. He would feel unprecedentedly relaxed because this was where he should be. At this moment, the monk was thinking about something completely different. However, Ao Jian had also challenged swordsmen everywhere in the game before he was recognized by the inheritance. When the caster of this ability was in the state of being possessed by the Prajna Devil Buddha, the damage he received would also be reflected to the opponent. Monk, reflect, what the F***ck, this ability of yours is too scary. Reflect damage and damage immunity. When you grow stronger, it will come with all kinds of skills. You're only at level 0. Then, he quickly opened the artifact and began to check the details. Chiu, super reflect. In other words, if Yuan Fong did not eat for a day, there was a high chance that he would starve to death. Chiu, I'm injured. Prajna scarification, I will also reflect. Almsgiver, didn't you say that you wanted to hurt me? Do you want to try it now? Yuan Fong raised his head and said, the mysteries of this game seem to be even more mysterious than what you've described. Master once told me that I should focus on cultivating the infinite Mo-ku and explore the path that the ancestral monk once walked. In the future, I should cultivate this divine power to the extreme and attain the great path of Buddhism. However, I don't know anything about this, but now I think I know what to do. This place can help me cultivate the infinite Mo-ku. At this moment, Lu Wu did not know whether to laugh or cry. He felt that this new player was quite pitiful. However, he had stumbled upon an opportunity because what Yuan Fong needed was spiritual energy. Other than the heavenly realm, spiritual energy could only be found in the underworld. And this time, Yuan Fong's physical body was activated because he had consumed the spiritual fruit in the game. Chapter 426. Roar! During this time, Yuan Fong screamed in pain. Even his skin was slightly broken. Wang Long was anxious. Their speed was no match for the dire wolf cavalry. Now that they were dragging a slow-moving monk, they were even slower. Seeing that the dire wolf cavalry was getting closer, Wang Long cursed in his heart. He felt that his luck was too bad. As Yuan Fong got closer, the zombie wolves were alarmed. They bared their teeth and roared at Yuan Fong. Naturally, it was not Yuan Fong's neck that was broken, but the wolf's fangs. Wang Long's punch landed on the wolf's head. The wolf's head was immediately smashed into the ground. Its running body came to an abrupt stop, and its limbs were lifted into the air due to inertia. Seeing this, Yuan Fong felt a little sad. Isn't this a little too decisive? Wang Long, who was watching from afar, could not help but turn on the live broadcast. The dinosaur took a few steps back in fear. Blood dripped down from the corner of its mouth. The wolf seemed to be in pain, but it did not let go. Dark green blood flowed down from its mouth. Obviously, this attack did not cause more than 500 damage. Not only did it not break Yuan Fong's defense, but it also broke his fangs. Of course, this foreign force is behaving badly. I am willing to contribute my strength. Yuan Fong nodded with a smile. At this time, the wolf suddenly bit the monk's right arm. Are they the soldiers of the 9 luminaries? Yuan Fong asked curiously with a calm expression. At this time, the leader of the dire wolf cavalry staggered up from the ground. He looked at the fragile Yuan Fong in disbelief, unable to understand what was going on. Monk, run! Thinking of this, Wang Long immediately pulled Yuan Fong and ran. Ding! It's not safe. This used to be our territory. But now, our hometown, the mansion of the dead, has been occupied by foreign forces. We have to be careful now. It's not easy to escape if we encounter the soldiers of the 9 luminaries. Wang Long sighed helplessly. Upon hearing the order, the dire wolf under him opened its bloody mouth and bit at Yuan Fang, who was under its feet. Yuan Fang, on the other hand, was not nervous at all. After all, he was someone who had been in a frying pan and had almost withstood an AK. Although the wild beast looked scary, it was not a difficult challenge for Yuan Fang. As a veteran player, Wang Long was naturally very familiar with the situation in Liuli district. After walking for more than 2 hours with Yuan Fang, they arrived at a barren plain. Even though he was still at level 0, as long as his Moke's immeasurable skill leveled up, the fixed damage reduction and damage reduction percentage would increase. It was still incomparably strong. At this time, Yuan Fang was following Wang Long toward the south of Liuli district. Beiki Liuli district. After all, he was not a newbie player. If he were to die now, it would not be easy for him to escape from the tight encirclement once he was resurrected in the central area of Beiki. He had originally chosen the south because there were fewer 9 luminaries warriors patrolling this area, but he did not expect to run into them anyway. Benefactor, you're amazing! Yuan Fang, who had been dragged all the way, stood up and scathed. He looked at Wang Long and exclaimed. After a while, Wang Long suddenly burst into laughter. Pfft, haha, monk, you're making me laugh to death. What kind of idiotic skill is this? Ha! Although the zombie wolves were stupid animals, their ferocity was completely stimulated even though they were injured. They bit toward Yuan Fang again. External forces? Yuan Fang was stunned. Reducing the target's damage by 80% meant that the monk would be a pure meat shield. His damage output was not even comparable to his own damage reflection. This is the most elite cavalry of the 9 luminaries army. Every one of them has the strength equivalent to us players at around level 100. Wang Long's face was extremely ugly when he said this. Crack! A crisp sound was heard. The sound of fangs and claws breaking could be heard continuously. Under Yuan Fang's damage reflection, the surrounding wolves were getting weaker and weaker. Benefactor, didn't you say that there are many monsters in the central area of Liuli district? Why are we heading south? Yuan Fang asked curiously. I'm just being impatient. I also know that you're fine. These zombie wolves really can't break through your defense. As he approached, Wang Long raised his fist. The red power gem on his body flashed, and his right arm was instantly enveloped by a scarlet airflow. Then, he smashed it down. Seeing this, Yuan Fang was about to pull his right arm back, but he saw the alpha wolf's expression suddenly turn fierce. It dragged him and began to run like crazy. Looking at the resentful Wang Long, Yuan Fang smiled awkwardly and patted his dusty clothes. Before Wang Long could finish his words, a roar suddenly came from afar. Bullsh *T, I can throw. Before he could finish his words, Wang Long's expression froze. Buddha bless you! Ouch! At this moment, Yuan Fang let out a blood-curdling scream, and a -3 appeared on his head. On the other hand, the surrounding dire wolf cavalryman vomited blood. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, he gritted his teeth and shouted to the squad of soldiers, Go! Kill him! That's right. Why the hell am I dragging this monk as a meat shield? This is too uncivilized. He was the one who attacked. How did I get hurt? In his opinion, this bastard monk's ability was really full of potential. Could the monk reduce the damage when he attacked? Or 80%? Roar. At this moment, the leader of the dire wolf cavalrymen raised the spear in his hand, and the cavalrymen immediately charged at the two like ferocious tigers descending the mountain. After so many years, this was the first time Yuan Fang felt pain. Although it was very weak, he could not help but scream. Clang! Crack! 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 Yuan Fang stopped in his tracks at this moment, allowing the wolves to surround him. He put his palms together and said, Seeing that Yuan Fang was getting closer and closer, the alpha wolf suddenly let out a long howl. Then, it moved its limbs and fiercely pounced at Yuan Fang. At this moment, Wang Long could not hold it in anymore. Hearing the monk's praise, Wang Long did not feel proud at all. Instead, he felt deep sorrow. One point? Yuan Fang was completely dumbfounded. At this moment, the alpha wolf had already closed in. It leaped into the air and pounced at Yuan Fang. Its eyes were locked on Yuan Fang's throat and it bit down. The punch landed hard on the alpha wolf's head, and the alpha wolf immediately narrowed its eyes. Seeing this, the leader of the cavalrymen was also dumbfounded. He immediately raised his spear and stabbed at Yuan Fang's little bald head. Under Yuan Fang's stunned gaze, Wang Long ran further and further away, disappearing in the blink of an eye. The bite landed on Yuan Fang's shiny bald head. Yuan Fang was unscathed, but the dire wolf's teeth were shattered. Monk, you will be a member of Beiki in the future. When our Beiki players become stronger and we are ready to go to war with the Nine Yao army, remember to come and help us. Wang Long could not help but remind Yuan Fang after some thought. Although this wolf ran very fast, it was still much slower than Wang Long, who was over level 100. Very soon, Wang Long caught up with it. When the spear landed on Yuan Fang's head, a sharp sound of collision could be heard. Looking at the alpha wolf whose mouth was already crooked, Yuan Fang raised his fist and punched the alpha wolf. Yuan Fang turned his head and looked at Wang Long, who was still laughing wildly in the distance. He silently wanted to withdraw his weak little fist. F***ck monk. Seeing this, Wang Long quickly followed. At this moment, the leader of the dire wolf cavalry was furious. With a long howl, a fiery red airflow emerged from the palm of his hand and spiraled up along the spear. It condensed at the tip and once again stabbed at Yuan Fang, who was lying on the ground. When it came to fighting, Yuan Fang was actually not very skilled. After all, being able to resist and being able to fight were two completely different things. Wang Long instantly killed the alpha wolf with a punch that had accumulated his strength. F***ck, the Nine Yao dire wolf cavalry. Seeing the squad not far away, Wang Long's expression changed. Ha ha, monk, don't fight anymore. Just stand there and let them bite you, Wang Long continued laughing in the live chat channel. Bang! Yuan Fang was speechless. The sound of metal colliding could be heard. Yuan Fang was still fine, but the leader of the dire wolf cavalry felt his arm go numb. A force flowed through the spear into his arm, almost causing him to lose his grip on the spear. Crack! Crack! The alpha wolf's already broken teeth cracked again, falling off one by one. At this moment, the wolves surrounding Yuan Fang also launched an attack at the same time. He had a fixed damage reduction of 500, and the wolf rider's highest damage output was only around 500. They couldn't even break through his defense, so there was no point in worrying about him. As soon as they arrived, they saw the zombie wolf pack not far away. The two chatted as they headed south. Oh, Amitba! Good, evil beasts, this little monk will free you now. Seeing this scene, Yuan Fang could not bear to watch. After thinking for a while, he decided to help. Almsgiver, this little monk is fine. Don't worry. The two immediately turned around and saw a squad of armored dire wolf cavalry on a small hill not far away, staring at them from afar. Powerful my ass. You don't know how strong you are. Wang Long could not help but roll his eyes. Battle notification. Deal 5 damage to zombie wolf leader. In the state of Moke's infinite body, with a merciful heart, damage to the target reduced by 80%. Deal 1 damage. At this time, the wolf riders behind them also surrounded them. The leader of the dire wolves immediately pounced on Yuan Fang and pushed him to the ground. The cavalry behind them quickly surrounded him. Moreover, he really wanted to know how much the mastery of his supernatural power, Moke's infinite body, would increase when he took damage. Almsgiver, why don't you stop running? Or maybe you should run first. I want to see if they can hurt me. Yuan Fong said helplessly as he ran. About 5 minutes later, Yuan Fong was shocked to find that the zombie wolves surrounding him were either crippled or had broken teeth. They looked extremely miserable. So, the fight began. Comparing oneself to a monk was infuriating. Seeing this, Wang Long described the war before the explosion of the Mansion of the Dead. In his narration, Yuan Fong could not help but frown as he described the heinous crimes of the Nine Brilliants army. Moreover, for monks who could not deal damage, the existence of levels was only to increase their HP. It was not as important as other players. Hearing this, Yuan Fong nodded slightly and walked toward the wolf pack. In other words, monks could only let others hit them and then kill them. They could not take the initiative to kill others. In the distance, Wang Long, who was in the party with Yuan Fong, was also stunned when he saw the combat information that appeared on the interface. Whoa! At the same time, the power of the rebound directly shattered the spear and sent the direwolf rider captain flying from his mount. Go, monk. I'll just watch. The experience produced by these low-end creatures is not very useful to me, but it's just right for you to level up. Player clan. Kill. Looking down at Yuan Fong, who was under the foot of his dire wolf mount, the dire wolf rider captain smiled sinisterly and shouted. At this time, the game notification sounded. Under Wang Long's dumbfounded expression, Yuan Fong's right arm was bitten by the alpha wolf and dragged away. Thinking of this, Wang Long suddenly let go of Yuan Fong and ran away at a faster speed. Gotcha! Chapter 427. While Yuan Fong was being beaten up, a livestream thread appeared on the official forum. The future number 1 tank in the entire server, Little Baldy, is being beaten up on a livestream. Moke the Infinite, whom everyone is paying attention to the most. At that moment, the hottest topic among the players on the forum was Moke the Infinite. When they saw the livestream thread, a large number of players immediately joined it. Coupled with the fact that they were spreading the news, the number of players increased exponentially. At that moment, in the livestream, Yuan Fong was still being besieged. He was rolling on the ground while screaming in pain. However, what shocked the players watching the livestream was that every time the dire wolf riders attacked Yuan Fong, they would be the ones vomiting blood. This scene was too strange. Although Yuan Fong was screaming in pain, his voice was full of energy, and he was completely fine. On the other hand, he looked extremely miserable. Not only was his armor broken, but he was also covered in wounds. He looked extremely haggard. It hurts so much. Stop hitting me, it hurts so much. Yuan Fong continued to scream in pain. Hearing this, the surrounding dire wolf riders felt like vomiting blood. Yuan Fong was like a porcupine in their eyes. When they hit him, they were the ones who were hurting. Although they had already noticed Yuan Fong's strangeness, they still thought that Yuan Fong was about to die when they heard his screams. His special defense was probably going to be broken soon, and they would be able to kill him soon. Hence, they persisted for more than 10 minutes. However, the problem was that Yuan Fong was still unharmed. On the other hand, they felt their organs shaking violently. They could not take it anymore, and they even vomited a few liters of blood. Hence, when they heard Yuan Fong's screams again, the dire wolf riders felt like they had been deceived. This was too fake. It must be on purpose. Seeing that the surrounding dire wolf riders had suddenly stopped, Yuan Fong, who was hugging his head and rolling on the ground, was stunned. He slowly raised his head and saw that the surrounding dire wolf riders looked extremely miserable. They were all looking at him in despair, as if they were completely helpless. Not fighting anymore? Yuan Fong was stunned. After thinking for a while, he opened the skill interface to see if his skill proficiency had increased after being beaten up like this. Moke the Infinite Body Level 112/10,000. Moke the Infinite Body Level 112/10,000. What? It only increased by 1. 2? Yuan Fong had a constipated expression on his face. In his opinion, This beating was even more vicious than the beatings from his senior and junior brothers, yet it had only increased by so little. If he wanted to level up, he would have to suffer through hell and back. Thinking of this, Yuan Fong couldn't help but shiver. At this moment, he felt that he was really miserable. However, since he had decided to cultivate the infinite mark to the extreme, he naturally wouldn't be discouraged. Although it was painful, he still decided to persevere. Yuan Fong raised his head and looked resolutely at the dire wolf riders who were still surrounding him. Everyone, come on. I suddenly feel that I can still hold on a little longer. The dire wolf cavalry. At this moment, they even had the urge to kill. Did this bastard Baldy think that they were playing around? They were the dire wolf cavalry that killed players without blinking an eye. Motherf ***, these words are so annoying. The enraged dire wolf cavalry immediately attacked again, and began to punish this bastard monk. As one of the most elite troops in the land of the 9 luminaries, they had their own pride. At this moment, Tyrant's words had truly provoked them. Thus, Tyrant began to roll on the ground and scream in pain again, while the surrounding dire wolf cavalry couldn't help but vomit blood. This scene completely dumbfounded the players who were watching the livestream. There were all sorts of pop-up comments asking what was going on. However, Wang Long didn't reply. At this moment, he was staring at Tyrant who was being beaten up and couldn't stop laughing. Finally, he saw Tyrant being beaten up. He suddenly felt extremely comfortable. Who told you to keep acting cool? About 10 minutes later, the dire wolf cavalry stopped once again. Their blood flowed backward, and their bodies couldn't help but tremble. Seeing that they had stopped again, Yuan Fong couldn't help but glance at his skill proficiency again. When he realized that it had reached 2, a gratified smile appeared on his face. Then, he turned to look at the wolf cavalry captain. Why don't we take a break and continue? The wolf cavalry captain. In the past, he would definitely have fought Tyrant to the death with these provocative words. However, at this moment, he really felt mentally exhausted. Was there any meaning to this kind of battle if he hit the other party and hurt himself? Looking at Yuan Fong's expectant face, the wolf cavalry captain's face turned ashen. He wanted to smash Yuan Fong's face with his fists, but unfortunately, he couldn't do it. Benefactor, do your best. At this moment, Yuan Fong suddenly clenched his fist and made a cheering gesture. Retreat. Seeing this scene, the wolf cavalry captain had a mental breakdown. He immediately used the last of his strength to shout at the soldiers beside him. When the soldiers heard this, they hurriedly patted their dire wolves and began to retreat. Hey Benefactor, you can't do this. Yuan Fong, who was still immersed in the joy of slowly improving his god art, hurriedly got up and shouted at the retreating wolf cavalry captain. Hearing this, a few wolf cavalry captain directly fell off the back of their dire wolf. However, they didn't say anything. They didn't even turn back. They struggled to stand up again, climbed back onto the back of their dire wolves with difficulty, and continued to retreat with the team. At this moment, their mental state had already collapsed. In the past, no matter how difficult the battle was, the other side would still suffer casualties. At least, they would feel comforted. At least, it proved that the dire wolf cavalry didn't fear death. However, it was different this time. The target didn't even attack, but they were injured one by one. In addition, the other party was mocking them. It was too frustrating. They couldn't take it anymore, and their mental state had completely collapsed. At this moment, they didn't even want to look at Yuan Fong. Just looking at him made them angry. However, if they attacked again, they would really die. Sigh. Seeing the dire wolf cavalry leave, Yuan Fong couldn't help but sigh. He felt that the opportunity to improve his god art had slipped away just like that. How frustrating. At this moment, the forum's live streaming channel was also in an uproar. Cyberpunk, can someone tell me what the hell is going on? This battle has me dumbfounded. Please explain. Slams table emoji, watermelon_taro. Did you guys notice? There's a party interface on the upper right corner of the live streaming channel. The player who got beaten up seems to be only level 0, Shueli_the_strongest. A level 0 player defeated a group of level 100 monsters. F***CK. What kind of monster is this? If he's level 100, he can probably kill everything with one punch. Slams keyboard angrily JPG. Roasting_jade_hair_ while _hugging_ Chong-yi. I don't understand this godly operation at all. How can a level 0 defeat a group of level 100 monsters? Back then, the wall cheat of the Asia server, North Star Blade, also relied on skills and a legendary weapon to defeat dozens of level 3 and 40 players. He's fighting a group of level 100 monsters at level 0. Doesn't he need skills? Is it true? Crayon_Shinchan. Tisk TSK. I can tell that you weaklings can't understand. Based on my professional experience, this bald donkey's Naraka Realm ability should be a sound wave attack. Didn't you guys hear him screaming? He's relying on his screams to cause internal injuries to the dire wolf cavalry soldiers around him. This is the truth, laughing emoji. Peppa_Boar. The analysis of the contrarian is pretty reasonable. I think it might be the lion's roar technique. Didn't you see that he's bald? It's a Buddhist lion's roar, a perfect match, laughing emoji. He saw that the live stream room was in chaos. Wang Long thought for a while and decided to upload Yuan Fang's information. He wanted to help Yuan Fang gain fame as soon as possible so that he could be recruited into the Bakey Wall cheat squad. Hence, he uploaded Yuan Fang's information as the host on the chat interface and pinned it to the top. At this moment, the live streaming channel fell into a brief silence. Then, the chat area of the live streaming channel exploded. Shueli_the_strongest. Damn, Bakey finally has someone who can take it. This little monk is even more tanky than Lionheart from the European server. Society, this is too society. Violent_macho. I heard that a large group of assassin players in the sewers are advocating the rise of assassins? They are really rising. Look, your ultimate daddy is here. Laughing emoji. Peppa_Boar. Little monk, this is so boring. Do you have any backstabs? I love the feeling of being backstabbed the most. It's so numb. I feel so uncomfortable if I don't get backstabbed a few times every day. Laughing emoji. Shueli_the_strongest. That's enough. I'm hiring an assassin. We have to assassinate this player in reality. We can't let him grow. Otherwise, we assassin players will just be the younger brother of the younger brother in front of him. Slams table emoji. Crayon_Shinchan. Everyone, please hunt down this player. No matter how strong he is in the game, can he withstand bullets in reality? We have to assassinate him. After all, his skills can reflect spells when he grows stronger. Let's kill him before his skills level up. Banging on the blackboard crazily. Wang Long_little_Superman, owner, let me explain to everyone. Actually, although the little monk's defense is invincible, he has a huge limitation. He can't kill anyone. Battle infographic attached. Take a look at it yourselves. That's why he can't do anything to the dire wolf cavalrymen. Also, I have to say, the monk is very friendly. Assassin players, don't bully him. Laughing emoji. Invincible_loneliness replied to Wang Long_little_Superman. Brother, please add me your contact number. Such a tanky tank must join our guild. Plus, my dog is so good at healing. Laughing emoji. The players in the live streaming channel were discussing it. After knowing the limitations of the monk's ability, the players finally felt a little better. However, they still felt terrible. Another wall-hacking player has appeared. Player status -1. Apart from the assassin players, the mages were also feeling terrible. Thinking about the appearance of a tank that could reflect spells in the future, they could already imagine how miserable it would be if they were to encounter the wall-hacking monk with their fragile skin. The next time this ultimate skill was used, they might be instantly killed. The gaming experience was terrible. However, looking at the overall situation, the players still felt a little relieved. At least this wall-hacking player was under their control. It would be better for them to fight cross-server battles in the future. While the players were discussing it incessantly, Yuan Fong had a bitter expression on his face. He also felt terrible. A round of beatings only increased his mastery by 2. If he wanted to stack the mastery to the next level, he would probably have to suffer at least 5,000 beatings. Furthermore, the duration of each beating couldn't be less than half an hour. Damn it. I'm going bald from all this worry. At that moment, Wang Long's figure appeared beside him. At that moment, he was grinning happily. Monk, you didn't suffer a loss from this beating. You're already famous. Many big shots want to recruit you into their guild. When Yuan Fong heard that, he sighed. Almsgiver, the mastery of this divine power is increasing too slowly. I'm suffering. When Wang Long heard that, he couldn't help but be taken aback. Then, he grinned. Isn't it easy to get beaten up? Walk towards the mansion of the dead. If you walk there openly, you'll definitely get beaten up along the way. Your mastery will increase by leaps and bounds. Really? When Yuan Fong heard that, he immediately perked up. Why would I lie to you? This place is quite far from the central area of Beiki, so there are fewer patrolling 9 luminaries soldiers. When Yuan Fong heard that, he nodded excitedly. Then, he turned his gaze towards the direction of the mansion of the dead. At that moment, he was prepared to receive the most vicious beatings and increase his mastery the fastest. Chapter 428. Recently, the soldiers of the 9 luminaries army stationed in Beiki were very distressed. In the past, the player clans that did not gather together were not a threat to them at all because they operated in small teams and each team was led by a powerful captain. Basically, they could easily kill the player clans that they encountered. However, a bald man with a special ability suddenly appeared in Beiki recently. The appearance of this man almost made them bald as well. They did not know what kind of strange ability this bald man had mastered, but they could not kill him. What was more frightening was that when they hit him, they were the ones who got hurt. In the beginning, many patrolling soldiers of the 9 luminaries army did not know the specific situation. Basically, they would attack him together when they saw him, planning to kill him on the spot. However, the result was tragic. Every time the bald man was besieged, he would shout and scream as if he was going to die soon, tempting others to beat him up even more fiercely. However, the truth was that those who beat him up were always 100 times worse than him. After a week or so, a warning was circulating in the entire 9 luminaries army of Beiki. If you meet a bald man from the player clan in Beiki, don't ever think about killing him. Don't be deceived by his harmless appearance and don't believe his cries, they are all F***king fake. Many patrolling soldiers of the 9 luminaries army who had contact with Yuan Fong suspected that this bald man was obviously looking for a beating. His intentions were too obvious. As the warning about the bald man circulated among the 9 luminaries patrol army, from then on, the 9 luminaries patrol army would avoid this bald man whenever they encountered him during their patrols. They all knew that this bald man's physical body was extremely hard and could not be damaged at all. Not to mention the fact that their efforts would be in vain, they might even beat themselves to death if they used too much force. Therefore, the patrolling soldiers of the 9 luminaries army completely gave up and tacitly agreed on the unspoken rule of not killing a bald man. However, this made Yuan Fong extremely distressed. It was fine for the first few days. Although he was beaten up every day, at least he could see the growth of his proficiency and look forward to the upgrade of his supernatural power. However, gradually, the patrolling soldiers of the 9 luminaries army, who usually loved to beat him up, started to ignore him. What made Yuan Fong feel even more outrageous was that a few patrolling soldiers actually took a detour and ran away when they saw him. Am I a devil? Or do I not look kind enough? Yuan Fong was very sad because his master had told him that he must cultivate Emoku the infinite well, and that he must not forget it during his cultivation. Moreover, he did not forget that he planned to take a good beating under such favorable conditions and strive to achieve success in his cultivation as soon as possible. But now, when these patrolling soldiers saw him, it was as if they had seen a ghost. He felt that he could not cultivate properly at all. There was one more thing that troubled him, and that was his level. He had been here for a week, but he was still level 8. He couldn't level up at all. This was because he could not kill the monsters at all. The level 8 he achieved was the EXP given to the 9 luminary soldiers who accidentally killed themselves because they overexerted themselves. For players who did not spend money, their level was directly linked to their soul coins. The more monsters he killed, the more experience he gained. The higher his level was, the more soul coins he would have. He was only at level 8, so the number of soul coins he had was pitifully small. However, Yuan Fong was glad that in this game world, his hunger would not appear as frequently as it did in reality. It gave Yuan Fong the feeling that his body was always breathing, swallowing some substance in the air to replenish the normal consumption of his body. This undoubtedly made him feel relieved. At least he did not have to worry about food all the time. In the past week in the game, Yuan Fong had gradually developed the idea of earning soul coins from treating money as dirt. The main reason was that there were too many delicious food in the game, but these spiritual delicacies could only be bought with soul coins at the auction house. Until now, Yuan Fong, who did not have many soul coins, could only buy some simple, ordinary food made by players to survive. However, these food also made Yuan Fong very happy. The taste was really good, and it could be said to be cheap. Actually, what Yuan Fong did not know was that the food in the auction house was basically made by capable chefs in reality. If it was not for the fact that the taste was passable, it would not have been able to sell well in the game. At this stage, there were already several brands of food made with local ingredients in Bakey, such as Bakey mineral water, Fawn biscuits, instant seaweed, wood spirit wine, rock cigarette, and so on. These brands were created by players or NPCs, and they circulated among the players because of their high quality. Many foreign players would even import a batch of local food or snacks from Bakey. In the underworld where the spiritual chi of heaven and earth was abundant, even the most common ingredients would taste better than the human world during the age of Dharma decay, because they were more or less contaminated with spiritual chi. This was just like how even the weakest ghost in the underworld was almost invincible in a one-on-one fight in the human world. In essence, it was because the amount of spiritual chi in the world had drawn an insurmountable gap between the human world and the underworld, forming a contrast between a high martial arts world and an ordinary world. This included all the material comparisons. This was the reason why even the lowest quality ingredients in the underworld could be so delicious. In short, from Yuan Fong's point of view, this world was the ultimate paradise in his heart, a paradise for a foodie like him. Yuan Fong had even made up his mind to travel around when his supernatural power level was higher and he had the ability to do so. He would travel around this world, taste the delicacies of all the major regions, and live a carefree life. Thinking of this, Yuan Fong touched his bald head, stuffed the bun in his hand into his mouth, and swallowed it. Then, he stood up and walked toward the area marked as the Mansion of the Dead on the map. "Since you guys refuse to come and beat me up, I'll go to your house to look for you." Thinking of this, the monk's steps became much lighter. "I'm going to get beaten up." Bakey, inside the crater of the Mansion of the Dead. Earth Yao frowned as he listened to his subordinates' reports, his expression extremely solemn. Recently, in order to wipe out the player clan and completely occupy the whole of Bakey, they could be said to have given their all. Even their boss, Xing Yao, personally went out and turned Bakey upside down, basically sweeping through all the areas. However, the problem was that the player clan seemed to be unable to be wiped out. One group would always come after another, and it really made them feel mentally exhausted. However, they still clenched their teeth and persevered. In order to take over Baki, they had lost too much. Not only did the vitality of the entire land of the 9 luminaries suffer, but 3 of their brothers were also killed. It could be said that their foundation was completely damaged, so how could they be satisfied if they couldn't take over Baki? Moreover, it was no longer up to them if they didn't want to, they had to persevere. If they didn't take over Baki and let one of their brothers advance to the Ghost Emperor realm, they would be in a very dangerous situation. This was the underworld, where the strong preyed on the weak. They were sitting on the land of the 9 luminaries, which was rich in spiritual minds, and many forces were secretly watching them. Now that their forces had suffered such a huge loss, if they couldn't rise again, they could only fall. When that time came, nothing would be left, and they would be completely crushed by the wheel of history, just like those ancient forces that disappeared in the long river of history. In this world, no opponent would show mercy to their enemy. Even if one was powerless to fight against them, they would still choose to kill them mercilessly, never giving them a chance to turn things around. This was the law of survival in the underworld. If one didn't improve and become stronger, there would be no way out. Under such a huge sense of crisis, they could only search for the player clan like crazy and wipe them out completely. Then, they would pray for the great emperor's blessing to let one of their brothers advance to his excellency, so that the 9 luminaries' force could continue to exist. Moreover, they didn't believe that they couldn't kill all of the player clan. Hooyah! Does Big Brother mean that he's going to rebuild the entire Baki once he advances to the Ghost Emperor realm? Earth frowned when he heard his subordinates report. Great Lord Earth, that's what His Excellency meant. He suspects that the player clan is hiding underground, and now His Excellency is trying to advance to the next realm. His Excellency said that as long as he advances to the Ghost Emperor realm, he will be able to turn the entire Baki underground world upside down. By then, the player clan will have nowhere to hide. Earth couldn't help but nod. In fact, his big brother had the same thought as him. The player clan must be hiding underground because they had already swept through all the areas on the surface of Baki several times, but they didn't find any large-scale gathering places of the players. By the way, Great Lord Earth, there's one more thing. Recently, a very strange member of the player clan has appeared in Baki. Hooyah said in a low voice. Oh? What's so strange about him? Earth frowned. He really hated the player clan to the core. I heard it from Commander Xingye of the Patrol Army. He said that there's a warning circulating among the Patrol Army under his jurisdiction: don't mess with a bald man from the player clan. Don't mess with a bald man from the player clan? What does that mean? Earth was stunned. Obviously, he didn't understand what it meant. I was also very surprised at that time, so I asked around and found a few cavalrymen of the patrol army to interrogate them. Only then did I know that a bald man from the player clan has appeared in Baki recently. He's very strange, even more so than the average member of the player clan. Many patrol soldiers have been defeated by him. According to the patrol soldier's description, this person's body is extremely hard, like an obsidian spiritual ore, indestructible. The strangest thing is that the person who attacks him will feel an inexplicable force feedback in his body when he is injured. Because of this, the cavalry of the patrol army will choose to take a detour when they see him. They don't dare to mess with him. It can be said that they can't do anything to him at all. Force feedback. Earth couldn't help but frown when he heard this. He had heard of such an ability before. For example, there was a large cultivation system called the Azura Path in the Luahu territory to the north of the land of the 9 luminaries. In this cultivation system, there was a curse-killing technique whose effect was very similar to what Hooyah had described. However, the difference was that the curse-killing technique had to be cursed in advance so that the opponent's body would bear the damage. There were complicated steps during the process, such as obtaining the opponent's body parts, gathering spiritual materials corresponding to the opponent's physical attributes, and so on. However, the bald man mentioned by Huya was different. It seemed that he had no limitations at all. Earth couldn't help but feel puzzled. Thinking of this, Earth couldn't help but ask, "Do you know where this person is now?" "I don't know, but this person has been wandering around Beiki. It should be very easy to find him." Chapter 429. Hearing that this person was wandering around Beiki, Earth Yao could not help but nod. "Alright, go back and tell Big Brother that I got it. As for the bald player, I'll find a way to deal with him." "Yes, I'll take my leave now," Huya said with a fist salute before turning around and leaving. At this moment, Earth Yao stood up from his seat and slowly walked out of the military tent, heading toward the outside world. At this moment, he was extremely curious about the man from the player clan that Huya mentioned. However, this was also in line with the characteristics of the player clan. During their interaction, they also discovered the strangest thing about the player clan. As a clan, the abilities they mastered were very complicated and even completely different. It was as if this clan had mastered many cultivation systems. This was very strange in Earth Yao's eyes. After all, in the underworld, a clan would usually choose to specialize in a cultivation system that was suitable for the clan's advancement. However, this player clan was the exact opposite. It was as if they had mastered the abilities of every system. It was really strange. As he thought about this, Earth Yao's figure rose into the air and swept toward the outside of the mansion of the dead's sinkhole. However, as soon as he rose into the air, Earth Yao noticed a dazzling ray of light refracted not far away. He could not help but turn his head to look. He saw a bald man from the player clan walking toward him from afar. The ray of light was the sunlight refracted from his bald head. "That's him?" Earth Yao was stunned. He did not expect this man from the player clan to come to him without an invitation. Earth Yao could not help but feel annoyed. After all, this kind of behavior was really provocative. It was not that there were no players who dared to come here, but they were all in groups. It was Earth Yao's first time seeing someone walking toward him so openly. In his opinion, this bald man was a little too arrogant. As he thought about this, his figure hovered in the air and dashed toward Yuan Fong. As he was about to reach Yuan Fong, he grabbed forward with his right hand. Suddenly, a black ray of light rolled forward and wrapped around Yuan Fong's body, pulling him in front of him. At this moment, Yuan Fong felt his body tighten as a huge force attacked him. He could not help but float into the air and instantly appeared in front of a strange man. Looking at the dignified man in front of him, Yuan Fong could not help but open the analysis menu. He immediately realized that this person was one of the 9 luminaries' brothers, Earth Yao. At this moment, Yuan Fong subconsciously muttered, "Oh Amitabha, Buddha bless you." Although Earth Yao didn't understand what Yuan Fong was saying, he frowned, thinking that Yuan Fong was scolding him. However, Earth Yao did not kill Yuan Fong right away. Instead, he reached out and patted Yuan Fong's body. He wanted to test if Yuan Fong's ability was as mysterious as Huya had described. Ouch! Suddenly, Yuan Fong started screaming. At the same time, Earthen felt a tremor in his arm and an inexplicable force suddenly appeared. Damage feedback? It was indeed very strange. But seeing me for the first time, it can't be the killing curse art of the Rahu region. Thinking of this, Earthen was shocked. This meant that the bald man's abilities were truly limitless. Such abilities were simply too terrifying. At that moment, Yuan Fong was also stunned. With just a light pat from Earthen, his Moke's immeasurable mastery had increased by 0.05. This was the first time he had seen such a rapid increase. After pondering for a moment, Yuan Fong raised his head and looked at Earthen with utmost sincerity. "Benefactor, please continue." Earth. Such provocative words infuriated Earthen. However, he didn't kill Yuan Fong recklessly. After all, he still wasn't sure if the bald man could really reflect all the damage. Therefore, he raised his head again and patted Yuan Fang's head with his palm. More than 30 HP was taken out of Yuan Fang's body, causing him to let out a shrill scream. Earthen's right arm also trembled. He could clearly feel a force rushing into his right arm, instantly unleashing a destructive force. However, he had the body of a ghost king, so this kind of damage was insignificant to him. What surprised him was Yuan Fang's ability. If there was really no upper limit to this kind of damage feedback, then it would be too terrifying. After the scream, Yuan Fang realized that his mastery had increased even more this time. Yuan Fang was pleasantly surprised. Most of the ordinary 9 luminaries patrol army soldiers could not even break through his defense, and the skill mastery they provided was even less. This was the first time he had encountered someone who could break through his defense as easily as the Earth Illuminator. At that moment, Yuan Fang's gaze toward Earthen became extremely friendly. "Benefactor, I've recovered. Let's continue." "Humph." Earthen was infuriated. A cold glint flashed in his eyes, and he immediately increased his strength and slapped Yuan Fang again. Bam! Earthen used 20% of his strength for this slap. As soon as it hit Yuan Fang, he withdrew his right palm and maintained a distance from Yuan Fang. Yuan Fang screamed again. After receiving the slap, a -120 bloody number appeared above Yuan Fang's head. His head was buzzing. This force was far stronger than any force Yuan Fang had encountered before, and he was completely bewildered. How is this possible? Earthen couldn't help but exclaim. Previously, he thought that the main problem with Yuan Fang's damage feedback came from the contact. Therefore, he quickly withdrew his right hand when he hit Yuan Fang. However, he didn't expect that the force would inexplicably reflect back to his body again, causing a sharp pain in his right arm. Damage transfer through the air? Earthen's expression became extremely solemn. This ability was completely beyond his imagination. Even his big brother, Starshine, didn't possess such a terrifying ability. "Benefactor, it's my turn to slow down this time. If you hit me again, I'm going to be flattened." Yuan Fang, who was seeing stars, couldn't help but say. However, Earthen ignored him. He swung his palm again, and this time, he used 70% of his strength. At the same time, his body tensed up, ready to withstand the damage feedback. Bam! What Earthen didn't expect was, when this slap landed on the bald man's body, it directly turned him into a black mist that dissipated. Moreover, the damage feedback that should have appeared after this slap also disappeared. This left Earthen dumbfounded. He initially thought that he might not be able to do anything to the player family man who had such a strange ability. He thought that he had encountered a ferocious tiger, but the result left him dumbfounded. He didn't even have the chance to use his full strength, and he was already gone. Earthen had a strange expression on his face, as he felt very awkward. After a moment of silence, Earthen suddenly turned around and headed back to the camp. He didn't even try to extract Yuan Fang's soul. After interacting with the player family for a long time, he knew very well that the player family members didn't have souls. They would turn into black mist and dissipate after death, so extracting their souls was completely useless. However, Earthen still felt happy deep down in his heart that he had defeated an opponent that he thought would be extremely difficult to deal with, even though the process was beyond his expectations. However, Earthen didn't expect that this was just the beginning. 3.5 hours later, Yuan Fang's figure once again appeared outside the sinkhole in the mansion of the dead. At this moment, Yuan Fang's expression was filled with surprise. That was because Earthen's 3 slaps, especially the last one, gave him a proficiency that couldn't be compared to the few hours of beatings he received. Therefore, Yuan Fang hurried over again after his resurrection cooldown was over. Right now, in Yuan Fang's eyes, Earthen was a godly tool to farm proficiency. How could he let go of this opportunity? Benefactor Earthen, I'm back! Yuan Fang shouted as he ran into the sinkhole. His appearance immediately alerted the guard. They immediately surrounded Yuan Fong and launched an attack on him. Seeing that the enemies were surrounding him, Yuan Fong skillfully lay on the ground and covered his head with both hands. As the attacks came, he began to roll left and right while screaming in pain. The commotion outside naturally attracted Earthen's attention. He immediately walked out of the tent and widened his eyes. Wasn't the bald man rolling on the ground, not far away, the man from the player family whom he had killed? Earth Yao dashed toward Yuan Fong in disbelief. He brushed past the guards and grabbed Yuan Fong's neck. He lifted Yuan Fong up and stared at him with a ferocious expression. He glared at Yuan Fong with a ferocious expression and asked, "Aren't you dead? Oh, Amitabha! Lord Buddha has blessed you." "Benefactor Earthen, I'm not dead," Yuan Fong answered immediately. Bam! Earthen's expression was ferocious as he punched Yuan Fong's stomach. "I'm asking you why you're not dead." The punch made Yuan Fong grimace in pain. However, after the pain passed, he grinned and said, "Benefactor, I'm here to look for you. Benefactor, this little monk has come to find you. To be honest, you have the ability to help this little monk attain the great Tao of Buddhism." F***CK. Earthen's blood pressure rose rapidly. He could not suppress his anger. He reached out, grabbed Yuan Fong's head, and pressed him to the ground. "Tell me why you're not dead. Lord Buddha has blessed you." At this moment, Earthen could no longer hold it in. He lifted his leg and kicked Yuan Fong's head. Bam! 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 After 3 kicks, Yuan Fong's body was stomped into a black mist and dissipated. However, Earthen's expression was extremely ugly. He glanced at the surrounding guards and snorted coldly. Then, he turned around and walked back to his tent. 4 hours later, Yuan Fong rushed over from the spawn point and appeared outside the sinkhole in the mansion of the dead. The familiar shouts rang out once more. "Benefactor Earthen, I'm here to pay a visit." The visit lasted for a week. During this period, Earthen felt like he was tortured to the point of insanity. Initially, he thought that Yuan Fong's most terrifying ability was his damage feedback. He did not expect the monk to have an even more terrifying ability: unlimited resurrection. He killed again and again, but every few hours, that bastard monk would always come to him with a smile on his face. Earthen could not stand it anymore. At this moment, Earthen finally realized that the bald man from the player family was here to die. However, he had no choice but to make a move. The guards could not do anything to the bald monk. He could only kill him with his own strength. However, the problem was that every time Earthen attacked Yuan Fong, he had the illusion that he was attacking himself. Who could possibly withstand that? After a week of incessant attacks, Earthen's face became extremely haggard. He even felt that he was a little depressed. At this moment, a soldier suddenly walked into the tent and knelt on one knee. "Great Lord, the bald man is here again." Earthen's body trembled when he heard that. Then, he slowly opened his bloodshot eyes and nodded. What a vicious psychological attack. He didn't sleep at all during this week, and he didn't even cultivate, because he knew that the bald man would come soon. After taking a deep breath, Earthen stood up and walked out of the tent. "Benefactor Earthen, how have you been? Lord Buddha bless you." Earthen did not speak to him at all. His expression was extremely gloomy. He suddenly appeared beside Yuan Fong and grabbed Yuan Fong's neck. "What do you want?" "Benefactor, follow your heart and do it." Yuan Fong smiled. Earthen's expression became extremely ugly when he heard that. Just as he was about to make his move, he suddenly thought of something. A smile slowly appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Do you really think that I can't deal with you?" "Lord Buddha bless you." Yuan Fong's expression was as usual as he said calmly. If it was in the past, Earthen would definitely kill him when he heard that. However, this time, he did not make a move. Instead, he smiled ferociously and said, "Imprison him for me." Yuan Fong's expression suddenly changed when he heard that. Benefactor, you can't do that.